Hello, and welcome to episode 215 of Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, forever and always, the man, the myth, the entity, Alessandro Biolsi. Say hello, Al.
Buona notte.
Perfect. I would expect nothing less after that hiatus. On this week's episode, we've got life stuff, the Dune delay, and a few trailers to go over, all before diving into our flick of the week, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, Part 1. But first, Al, what are we drinking?
We are drinking what may or may not be the freshest of the beers that we up for debate, and also still 6 months old. 6 months old as of the buying. I don't know how old it was when I bought it.
That's fair.
Mercifully, it doesn't have a date to betray me on here.
No, it didn't.
Oh, God. Yeah, mine was a little juicy as well. It's Adirondack Brewery's Bare Naked Ale, as opposed to the Bare Chest Naked Ale that we have.
You know what's funny about that?
Blurry Bare Naked.
When people hear this, it will have been 1 week since the previous episode.
It's been. It's an amber ale. It's a pint, which is fantastic.
It's about damn time. I feel like we've been pintless for a bit.
I don't know. It's been months since our last recording, so
that's fair.
Not that anyone will know if once they've heard this, because hopefully they'll be hearing it a week after the last episode.
That's true.
Timeline got fucked up.
There was a blip.
So yeah, anyway, it's a medium-bodied amber ale. It's 5.2% alcohol by volume.
Medium-bodied is never how I've been described.
Same. Well, actually, not never. There was a brief moment or so, but
there was a spell.
Yeah. But yeah, that's about it. We have a lovely picture of what would I assume be the Adirondack Mountains and some of the woods therein. And
it'd be really.
Oh wait!
Really funny if it was very intentionally not the Adirondacks.
I found the date. Definitely don't look for it.
Oh no!
It's brewed and packaged by Adirondack Pub and Brewery, Lake George.
Oh no!
Found it totally by accident.
22? No, it's a 23. It's April. It's April 23.
Oh, okay. Mine was smudged so badly I thought it said April of 19.
What a roller coaster that was.
Wait, no, Anthony, I regret to inform you, the date of this cannot be April of 23, because I bought this in February of 23.
Right.
I bought it in the future.
Well, no, what if it's Best Buy?
Oh, Best Buy, okay. Yeah. No, that's what it says, you're right. Okay.
It just says buy.
I was thinking, so mine, the year is smudged off, but the Best Buy is very clear.
I could only see the buy, like I don't see Best anywhere, but I could only see buy if I rotate it just right. I feel like Nicolas Cage is trying to steal the Declaration of Independence. Reading this.
Well, okay, so this isn't actually so bad by our standards. I was really worried for a moment. I was like, oh boy, this is 4 years old.
If you bend the can a certain way, it actually looks like it says 28, and then it's hella fresh.
Well, it says 4. And then I actually thought it was 20-something, and then I thought it said 19, but it's so smudged on the year that I can't tell.
Yeah, it's rough. Anyway. Do I have to get naked to drink this?
Clothing optional, I assume.
It's a very nice color.
It is. I got a fancy glass so I could get a nice look at it. Oh, you got a fancy glass too. Perfect.
Yeah, I've got an oil drum. What are you working with? Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's which I don't know what you call this type of glass. It's kind of a flute, not fluted. It's one of those beer glasses that looks like a wine glass, kind of.
Yeah. I all of my glasses, I've got like 3 glasses that aren't packed.
Yeah,
this is one of them.
We'll talk about it more later, but I thought you were fully in the new house by now.
Oh, sweet summer child.
Well, it's funny. I was talking about this with my mom yesterday because she asked how everything was going, and I said, just like when Anthony and Kim had Elio. And now I said, I am here for emotional support. My job is not to ask questions that are they're only going to exacerbate the stress. They're not going to alleviate them. Anthony knows that I care. I show that I care by sending him something funny or whatever. We chat via 2 to 10 texts on a given day. That's it. If he has something he needs to get off his chest, he'll tell me and I'll be there for him and he knows that. But I'm not helping by asking questions. It's just going to make things worse.
I appreciate you dearly.
I know my role. I know how to play it well.
Stay in your lane. No,
it's
great.
I do.
It's great.
I don't need to be told. I do so.
No,
anyway.
we'll definitely get into some of that here because it's been a journey. But I think we should give this sucker a taste.
I would love to
before it gets any older.
Oh wow!
But cheers.
Hang on.
Bud. What about this?
I flicked it. I didn't have a glass bottle to clink against it.
I got nothing. Mine's just a thud. Cheers.
It is exactly as advertised. It is a medium body amber ale.
Yeah. That's it's like I don't know how to describe it. I want to say this, but I don't want it to come off poorly. I've got nothing to say about this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It is, that's why I said it's exactly as advertised. It is very solid. It is not going to wow you. It is also not going to disappoint you. Mm-mm. It is exactly what it says it is, and it's exactly what I want it to be based on the words it said it was going to be.
Yeah, like this is like it's very unobtrusive. It's like I feel like if you had a local pub that you went to a few times a week, and this was one of
8th Street Tavern.
It's at the 8th Street Tavern. I feel like this is something that you can get repeatedly because it would be like a consistent, clean, easy drinking, nothing to wow or like it's very unoffensive.
In my opinion, that is what an amber ale should be. I don't want to say it's not possible. I think it's really difficult to make an amber ale that is just going to knock your socks off. But if you do it right, you're just never going to be disappointed. It's easy drinking, but it has enough flavor that it's not just a generic like Pilsner or whatever, where it's like there is something there flavor wise that you will actually enjoy drinking the beer, not just like not be offended by drinking.
Yeah, I honestly think it might very well be just like the presence of body that has it stand apart from something like a basic Pilsner. I don't know. It is very simple, and I actually really like it.
It's got enough caramel flavor that you know it's there, but not enough so that it feels like it can get... Sometimes it can almost feel overwhelming after a while, where like you wouldn't want more than one of them, but I feel like you could knock down a few of these. Yeah. And not get that weird like aftertaste that kind of just like builds on you after a certain amount of time. And I love caramel malt, but anything can be too much. And I think this is balanced enough that it never will be.
And I do think that that's something like I'm not usually a big fan of amber ales. Like there's nothing that I've really ever found special about them, but I have found I can be turned off by them if they are too malt forward.
Yeah.
And because you know I mean we've talked about it at length on this show. That's not a flavor profile that I care for.
The one I made I really liked.
Yeah, yours was really good. And this is very good too. This is like I would get this again. This feels like something that I would get at Heartland Brewery. Have you ever been there?
I've never been there. I don't know.
Okay. It feels like something that it would be good to order with food.
Yeah, no, it's
very complimentary.
Pretty versatile. Like you could have it with a burger, you could have it with wings, you could have it with anything really.
You can have it in a box, you can have it wearing socks.
You can have it here or there. You can have it anywhere.
I'm gonna go 2 thuckles up.
2 is the correct answer.
2 thuckles up. Yeah.
That's the correct opinion.
I feel like if you were an amber and I feel like you can't be going 4 thuckles anywhere because you're not supposed to be trying that hard.
Yeah, I don't think that it's really feasible to make a 4 thuckle. I think it would be hard to, but attainable to make a 3 thuckle. I think like you can make a bad amber, but even like one that's not super good, it's still not going to be less than a 0.
Yeah, that's nice. Good choice, Al. Nice welcoming way back.
Thanks. I got this one when I randomly took a walk in a tiny nowhere town in upstate New York near Ithaca when I was waiting for dinner to be served. When I was visiting Vicky and her parents at their bed and breakfast.
That's awesome.
I just walked into a gas station and I was like, "What's a beer I've never had before?" I said, "Oh, okay. I have heard of Adirondack Brewery. Don't know anything about it. There's 2 beers here. Let me grab both of them."
I will have those.
So I grabbed 2 4-packs. We'll have another one somewhere.
I'm maybe next week because I'm enjoying this one a lot, and the other one is a New England style, isn't it?
It's definitely an IPA. I don't remember what style.
So I'd be down to try that while it's relatively fresh.
I do. Well, that's true, but I do try to rotate the brewery so we don't.
That's true. Should we just hold on to it for another year and a half and do it with the second part of this movie? Well,
actually, kind of perfect.
Amazing. Let's get into some news and nuggets because we have. I'm sure we have a lot to catch up on.
Yes.
Considering
the two of us have not actually spoken since the last recording, probably.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't think. Yeah, we haven't been on the phone even at all. Maybe for one brief moment.
No, actually,
text. It was all text.
At one point, we were supposed to, and you never called me. So
that sounds like me.
It's okay.
That sounds like me. I'm sorry.
It wasn't a pressing need.
All right. Good. Well, speaking of life stuff, you just went on a wonderful journey.
I did. I spent 2 weeks in Italy. So here's
life-changing.
Here's how it happened. So me and Anthony recorded a couple of episodes in a row, and then Anthony was doing house stuff, which we'll get to later, and I was like, okay. And then we were off for a couple of weeks. I was like, well, I'm going to be in Italy as well, so we'll just continue this hiatus for several more weeks. But yeah, I spent 2 weeks in Italy. Me and the family went. It was meant to be a pilgrimage because none of us have ever been, and obviously that's where the majority of my ancestry is from. And we flew to Venice. We spent a couple days there. And then
did you? Drove. Well, let's hang out in each spot for a little bit longer.
Oh, okay. I was gonna give
I'm easily gonna forget place to place. So,
okay.
So
Venice,
you're in
Q&A style.
You flew into Venice.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't realize there was a major airport there.
So yes, there is, but I didn't know this until we were getting up to those last days, and we were we actually were booking some of the things we were doing a few days before we left. We had all of the places we were staying booked and a couple of excursion tour things, but we did a bunch of them in the last few days before we left.
Okay.
And so I didn't know that Venice was an island, or actually a couple of islands.
Many islands, if you want to get specific.
Well, the main hub of Venice is 4 islands or something like that. I didn't know that. I just assumed it was on the coast and it was just that the tributaries of a river led to the bay or the ocean or the sea, whatever. I didn't realize that it was actually 4 little islands that are 5 miles from, or probably not even 5 miles. I don't know. It's a couple miles, whatever, from the main body of Italy. So yeah, right. The main body of Italy in the region of Venezia there's a couple of little towns and cities right along there. There's a major airport there. And
cool.
There's actually a whole huge dock where there's multiple different water taxis and water bus services that is the way you would take a taxi out of the airport to go somewhere, but you take it to the main old Venice, the city of Venice. And it's a 20-minute boat ride or something
You flew direct from somewhere up by you?
We flew direct from Newark to Venice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So we flew out on Monday night at 7 or 8 p.m. I forget, and we arrived in Venice Tuesday morning. Time traveled at whatever it was, 8 in the morning local time there. So I slept probably 45 minutes on the plane. So I had a full day. I took off work Monday.
Yep.
Slept in, had a good night's sleep. Woke up at 8:30. Went and got a haircut, breakfast, finished up my packing, had a few hours to spare, played some video games. I'm set, ready to go.
That's nice. That's a nice casual day.
Yeah. Just
pre-trip day. I like that.
Relaxation, So get on the plane. I usually tend to sleep through takeoff.
Okay.
Because I get bored, and also as they spin up the engines, you kind of get that calming effect, that white noise effect, and also
you get those good vibrations.
Come on. I also my travel anxiety manifests itself.
I missed you.
My travel anxiety manifests itself in I have to recheck that I packed everything 37 times.
Mm-hmm. Been there.
And then when I get to the airport or whatever, I am fine, but heart racing more or less until I get through security.
Yep.
And then it's like, okay.
I'm with you. I can't relax until
wrong.
I've gotten...
Yeah, it's like, nothing can go wrong now. We're through security. That's where the gate is. We're fine. But still, like, you just get that anticipation of just, we're going to get on the plane, whatever. Like, not stressing it, just like now it's real. Like, the trip is real now.
Yep.
And then, so as soon as I, like...
Vacation begins now. Like,
as soon as I sit in the seat of the plane, it's like, okay, I've come way down. Crash from, like, that baseline anxiety or whatever. So I slept for basically all of takeoff and everything like that. Like the spinning up, waiting. We actually were waiting on the tarmac for like 15 or 20 minutes, like after they got the engines running before we actually went. So I slept through all of that, all of the takeoff, whatever. Woke up like we've gone full ascent and everything. So yeah, we land on Tuesday morning. We take the water shuttle, which brings us into the main heart of the Grand Canal to the stop that we're supposed to get off at. It's like we have to wait for the person who like is like the manager for the it was like an Airbnb. It was, I guess there's a company that rents out like 50 places in Venice, and the woman who worked there was like, showed us the place, whatever, get all our bags in, settle down for 2 seconds, and then figured out, okay, so we have this tour that's at like 2 p.m. or whatever. So we have to figure out now how to use the water bus along, the Grand Canal. And so we do that, get to Piazza San Marco, walk around, have some lunch, got to figure out to meet this tour guide. We're going to go take a boat trip to the islands of Murano and Burano. We see some glass blowing. We're going to go do a little shopping.
Have I shown you my Murano glass?
I don't know. I don't remember.
We bought one of those very nice like wine decanter sets.
Oh, okay. My mom and dad bought some sort of vase type thing.
Cool. Nice.
So, and then we come back. The woman who was leading our tour, no, by the way, so at this point, I slept 45 minutes in like a 30-hour span or something like that.
Yep.
So,
and Burano also looks like a dream. So it's like, am I doing it?
So I for sure slept through 80% of what she was saying while we were taking the boat trips to Murano and Burano.
Yeah.
Just sitting straight up and down, like sleeping, snoring. Me and Dominic were like trading shifts, snoring through her talking.
Rude.
Yeah. No, I did feel a little bit bad about it. But on the way back, she had bought a couple of bottles of Prosecco because I didn't know until then that's where all the Prosecco in the world is made, is in Venezia. So we drank some Prosecco. It was really good. She revealed to us the dirty little secret that it's basically impossible to get good Prosecco in the U.S. because they just drink it all there. Because it was all really good. I had probably 4 or 5 different types of Prosecco while I was there, and it was all really good. We come back. She takes us to, we were part of a larger group. There's probably 20 people in the group or whatever. But she took the 5 or 6 of us to this restaurant that like her friend runs. That's like this little hole in the wall that like only people who live in that neighborhood go to eat. And it looked like it. It did not look like a tourist restaurant.
Sure.
Food was phenomenal. I had some sort of like scallops and other seafood, like kind of a Fra Diavolo with like
nice,
like fresh gnocchi.
Yeah, keep talking.
Yeah. Dude, if you want, I will send you any and all food pictures because I took a lot of them. Because Vicky requested them because she took all the pictures, and her dad, who's been a chef for like 30 years or whatever, the 2 of them were trying to figure out what everything was.
Amazing.
Yeah. So Dominic got like the Sepia Nero. My dad got some sort of, I think it was like pappardelle with some sort of anchovy like sauce. The ladies were not as enthused by the meal, unfortunately, but also I think they were also feeling the effects of the exhaustion that we were all feeling. Slept hard that night.
Yeah, I bet.
Get back. It's like 10 o'clock. I slept straight through till like 8 a.m. Like just like I think I might have woke up at like 5 because I just had to piss like insanely, and then went back to sleep immediately for like another 3 hours, full like stop. And I'm like, okay, we're here. I'm on Italy time now.
Right.
Good to go.
Yeah.
Off.
That was the best thing you could have done, was stay up.
I learned that lesson when we went to Hawaii. It was like I was cranky. I was miserable. I didn't I stayed through to sleep, whatever, but I was like could not even like properly power through. I found it within myself to I know you're tired. It's good.
Yeah,
just keep
it's
going.
one day.
Just keep going.
Yep.
And then
It'll be worth
totally
it.
good, for the next 2 weeks.
Mhm.
So the next day we had tours booked for the Palazzo Ducale. More on that later in the movie. And then what's it called?
I think I see Al.
the cathedral next door to it, which the name of that cathedral I forget now. And we go.
Honestly, I've been there twice now, and I'm at the point of like, you've seen one cathedral, you've seen them all.
I don't know. I mean, we saw a few different ones over the course of the trip, and I mean, yes, there is a lot of like recurring themes to all of that, but it's still pretty fascinating to see them.
I think I was able to appreciate the nuance and differences the first time.
Yeah.
But then the second time that I went, I was seeing some repeat places just because we were on another tour.
Oh, okay.
I was like, yeah, I get it. And we would break away and do like more local things, which is nice.
So the problem is that the women in my life are not very punctual. And so, you have to dress. The theme of the trip was to cover one's sinful knees, because you're not allowed to show your shoulders or your knees or your midriff. And so the men had to wear pants in addition, even though it's 85 degrees and incredibly humid and stagnant in Venice at the time. So I was wearing...
It's like walking in a sweaty butt.
Yes.
Not, yeah.
So I was wearing a nice pair of chinos, and I was like, okay, I have boat shoes. I'll wear those because wearing my sneakers with them would be kind of weird. And we were too late to make the water bus. So we now have to sprint across the city of Venice, which if you've ever worn boat shoes, don't recommend it.
Yeah.
Sprinting in them. There was definitely some blood on the right foot and ankle.
Yikes.
Fair amount of it, but it's okay. We survived. But no, it was really cool seeing those two things. We had dinner right in Piazza San Marco and all that, and then that was it. We were in Venice for 2 days.
Cool. That's enough time for Venice, I think.
I think so too. I mean, we could have probably found some things to do if we were there one more day, but that was pretty much.
The only thing that I would like recommend on top of that would be, if you did have that extra day, is to not plan anything.
Yeah.
Right, like that would probably be your best use of time for a third day. Would be to just
there wasn't
for a day.
There wasn't like a ton of big stuff to like, other than those things to go do there. It might have been nice to spend a little more time around like Rialto, because we basically ran through there.
Did you get to see a glass blowing demonstration when you went to
yes,
Murano?
Yes.
What do they make? Do they make a horse?
They made a horse.
They always make that horse. It blows my mind. That's just a piece of glass. Then it's a horse. What did you do?
I took a video of the first thing. He made two things. I forget what the first thing he made was. I took a video of that, and then I put the phone down and I was just watching while he was making the horse, and I took a picture of it at the end. But
nice.
That was really cool. It was just a whirlwind 2 days in Venezia. Also, I really fully. It's been something that's been kicking around my head for almost 20 years. I'm going to be that guy. I've decided.
Okay.
I'm going to call places by what they're supposed to be called, what their name is.
Sure.
It's not Venice. It's Venezia. I decided it while we were over there. That's going to be me from now on, and anyone else can suck it. I don't care. You know what it was when I first learned that like places in Italy weren't called what they're called was during the Olympics, the Torino Olympics. And it was like, the Turin Olympics, and there's like Torino, Italy. And I was like, the what now?
Yeah.
It's like, God, I don't know. It's a version of arrogance in our country that's frustrating to me, because if someone who was Spanish came and said like Ciudad Nueva York, like we would be like, there would be people here like yelling at those people.
Sure. It's
New York City. But then they're going to go to Spain or Italy or France and not call those places by no. Putting my foot down. I'm not going to promise that I pronounce it properly all the time in every single place, but I'm going to try is the point.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I'm going to try. I'm going to respect them in the way that I wish that they respect us. Same thing with people's names. People have butchered my name for my entire life, and I politely correct, but no, you're going to call me by my name.
Yeah.
And I'll call you by whatever your name is. And please correct me if I pronounce it wrong, but you deserve to be called by your name.
You should call me by your name.
Yeah, no, I still haven't seen that movie, but It's probably weird to watch that movie now with Armie Hammer being what he is, but
yeah, it might paint certain scenes in different light.
Yeah. So anyway,
I would rather not think about it.
I know. So anyway, yeah, we took the train back out from the city to pick up a ridiculous van. It's a 9-person van. It's not a minivan, it's a van.
Yeah.
But not like one of those Sprinter ones. Like it looks like a minivan but bigger.
Yep.
And manual transmission.
Yeah. Was the stick up by the steering wheel? Or was it low? That was the thing that I thought was pretty cool. There were some rides we were in where it was like up there, like where it was like up. It was up by the radio, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like dramatically up there, but it's more or less where you'd expect a gear shift to be in a minivan or whatever. So we drove from there across the country, and we tracked down the village where my dad's grandfather's from.
Cool.
We met people we may be related to.
Awesome.
We chatted with them for a bit, and that was nice. It was a quiet little thing. We took a look. My dad wanted to see, in the graveyard of if his great-grandfather or any of the names that he recognized as being like brothers or cousins of them were there. We found a lot of Biolsis, and over there it's the Z, not an S. But none that he could be 100% sure.
We're back to that same thing you were talking about. We'll write it how we want.
Yeah, which, I get that in the whole Ellis Island thing. I'm saying we're better people now. We're smarter, we know better, we can do better. When you know better, you do better. So
sure.
So we spent like maybe 2 hours in that area, and then we continued on our journey to Florida. Sorry, Firenze. we went over there and we got in. That was an adventure driving in. That was where we learned about the ZTLs. That was a fun the no driving zones.
Oh, I don't know what this is.
Oh, okay, yeah. So in all of the big cities in Italy, apparently. They're in specifically in the historic districts, because we were driving in and it's like, oh, this looks like it could be a city anywhere in the world. Yeah. And then you get into old Firenze and it's like, oh yeah, this is cobblestone. This was made for horses 500 years ago. Right. There's the ZTL, which you have to be licensed or have a specifically identified reason to be driving in the area. Okay. Which for us, because we were staying there, we had to wait until, because there's a window, it's 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. No driving unless you're, like I said, licensed or authorized. But we got there at 8:30, so you're basically able to establish residency, which is a reason that you're allowed to drive. So my dad drove in. We're driving through, piazzas and down streets that everyone's just walking down the middle of the street. There's sidewalks and people aren't using them. They're just walking through the streets.
The level of, you were talking about travel anxiety. Oh yeah. Oh my God. I wouldn't be able to handle it. I think I'd have a heart attack on the spot.
Driving through the countryside was wonderful. The highways were really good, actually.
Highways are incredible.
I didn't know what
rest stops are out of this world.
we were very impressed. I didn't know. I had heard, but seeing
the Auto Grill.
Yeah, Auto Grill. My favorite thing, which I will remember to my dying day, is that drive-through McDonald's are called McDrive.
Amazing.
Actually, we had a couple of decent lunches during our journeys at the Auto Grill.
I joke about this with people when I tell them that they're going that it's worth stopping. Actual cooks working there, and making you very good meals.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff was kind of basically good cafeteria food, but some of the food was actually good food.
No, it was. It's impressive. I mean, you think about going on a road trip here, and you're what are you gonna have? Fast food.
You're gonna have McDrive,
right? But if you go there, you could stop for 30 minutes and have just this incredibly fresh pasta. Yeah, that's awesome.
So so anyway, we get in. My dad we find the corner of the piazza, because we were staying in an Airbnb above the Piazza Signoria in Firenze, and it's where the Palazzo Vecchio is, where and it's a couple blocks from Ponte Vecchio, and so
did you guys go to that at some point? You did,
yeah. Well, actually, So that's funny. I'll get to that in a second. So my dad drops us off because we have like 7 suitcases, like rolling suitcases for 6 people, plus everyone's like carry-on bags or whatever. So he drives off on his own to go park the car, the garage that we booked a spot for. We get everyone else upstairs. He shows up probably 20 minutes later. We get situated. It's like 9 o'clock. We go downstairs to eat dinner. There's a cafe. A couple of cafes and restaurants like directly below us. Like you look straight down and there they are. And so we went. That's where I learned that there are, was it 4 or 5 things? There's only 4 or 5 things in all of Tuscany, apparently. That's what the guy told us at the restaurant. Yeah, we were asked to. It was like a nice place. Like the show was expensive actually in this restaurant. It was really good though. He says we have. He goes, we only have a few things. He goes, you do not want the pasta. You do not want the pizza. It's not good. Don't eat it anywhere.
That's awesome.
He goes, I don't mean here. He goes, I mean anywhere in the area. Don't eat it. It's not what we make here.
That's great.
He goes, we make steak. He goes, you know about the steak Fiorentine? Yes. We have the cows there, the Chianina, the specific cows for the cut of steak that they do. We make, we have the truffles up in the mountains. Wild boar. There are so many wild boar here. Yep. He goes, anywhere else in the country you can get a license to hunt them, but here anyone can go hunt them. If you want to go hunt them, you can. I don't recommend it, but you can. He goes, and we have,
just give me something for the pain and let me die.
He goes, and we have our wine. We're in the heart of Chianti, the Chianti region, but
you're like, it's settled. You close your menu. I will take 1 boar and 1 wine.
Well, that's the thing is every single restaurant while we stayed in that area, every single one of them had tagliatelle with boar ragu. Every one of them. Mm-hmm. Now, some of the places had other boar dishes as well, but every single one of them had tagliatelle with boar ragu. Every single restaurant had ravioli with a creamy truffle sauce.
Truffle sauce, yeah.
And every single one of them had the 5 different cuts of steak, obviously highlighting the Chianina. And so, we got, okay, so here, we're going to get the ravioli, we're going to get the boar, we're going to get the steak. Actually, I will say, though, that first night we had gnocchi and pesto. Probably best pesto sauce I've ever had.
Sure.
Like, my mom makes a kick-ass pesto.
Yeah.
And, this was, right up there with it. And that was actually a fantastic dish. And the tagliatelle that was with the boar ragu was good. He was saying, none of the pasta's good. But he's like, but you have to have this dish because the boar ragu is good. Honestly, that was a top 5 meal of my life.
Wow.
That specific meal. Yeah. It was fantastic.
Yeah, high praise. Well,
because it was all of it together. Because I got the steak.
Yeah.
Everyone else got intro. We all kind of traded with each other. Having everything that I had there, fucking phenomenal.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we went on the next day. We went on a wine tour. We did 3 wineries up in the hills of Tuscany, all Chianti wineries, we learned all about the different types of Chianti. We had the guy who was leading the tour was an actual sommelier who grew up, who was born in a hill up, a village up the hill from the city. It was awesome. At the last place we went, and it was he goes, I'm not going to tell you which winery is the best. He goes, because there are things that for me, as a sommelier, I can tell you this is better or worse, just from a perspective of how it was made or whatever. But it's whatever you like is what's best.
I appreciate anybody that puts it forward that way because that is the truth. It
was also a lie though, because the first place we went to was really good, and then the next place we went to was better, and then the next place after that blew both of them out of the water. And it's I appreciate that you didn't try to taint the jury pool, but
sure.
It's very obvious that you brought us to these in this order for a reason.
That's great.
We got to try 3 or 4 or 5 different wines at every one of these places. Every one, the first one we went to, by the time we got there, it's 10:30 or something like that. So we had some 3 glasses of wine with all different sorts of cold cuts and cheese, olive oil and bread, because all these places apparently make their own olive oil too.
Yeah,
because every one of them has olive trees growing.
Olive oil is so good. Yeah.
So the second place we went
it's
to,
actually green.
this one was like actually up on like a mountain. Like there's like and they were talking about like why they grow it on the slopes and all that, which was kind of cool. So we go in there and they just have out in like this little pavilion off to the side of the main place. There's just glasses of rosé waiting for us because apparently they all make rosé there. I have a glass of rosé. He goes, okay, now we're going to try something that you're probably not used to. And he brought out 2 trays of shots of olive oil.
Yeah.
I was like, what? He's
now
like,
it's a party.
He's like, yeah. He goes, I'm not going to tell you which one's which. He goes, I put an X on one glass and not on the other one. He goes, I want you to take a shot of both of them and tell me which one's the better one. So
very cool.
I was like, listen, we're obviously you're in Italy, you're going to have a lot of olive oil, but I didn't expect to be drinking it.
This is egregious.
I was like, I'll never do this again, but it actually wasn't terrible.
Mm-hmm.
It was weird. And the good one, if any of you goes and you want to impress your sommelier, the one that warms your throat like a shot of bourbon, that's the good one. Which, again, I didn't think that was a thing that olive oil would do to you.
Yeah.
And then, we go, we sit down, have lunch, we try the different wines with lunch.
Cool.
Drive to the last one. It's a villa right up on top of like the hill. Like you can see Il Duomo from this villa, and we walk through the grounds. They have all sorts of citrus trees growing in the gardens, and they make some fun wines with some of those. And
very cool.
We have like the actual wine. And it's like, fuck, man, this wine is ridiculous. And like Chianti is good, but it's like there are other reds that I prefer because it's kind of it doesn't tend to be as super bold and dry as some other reds.
Yeah.
But these were so good, and this one they were like, oh yeah, like any of the other places, like you could just buy a bottle or whatever. He goes, but if you buy enough, like we will ship it for you.
Oh, nice.
So we all pitched in, bought a bunch of bottles, shipped it home. Which post note on the whole trip. That box was being delivered like 90 seconds after we pulled up home when we got back from the trip. Like the FedEx truck pulled up ahead of our van as we were unloading our suitcases.
That's funny.
But yeah, and for lunch they had crostini with bruschetta, pate, porcini mushrooms, cannellini beans,
nice, and
lardo. And then for lunch, for the actual main lunch, we had tagliatelle with boar ragu and ravioli with cream truffles.
That's great. That's awesome. Did you go down into like to the city and see the markers for like the old floods?
Where? In which city?
I don't even know the appropriate way to say it. In Florence.
No, actually, I didn't see that. So I think one day we did a pizza making class.
Cool,
which was kind of cool. And they also made like gelato as well. So we all got to eat pizza and have gelato.
Nice. I mean, if you're not having gelato every day when you're in Italy, you're not doing your trip right.
We didn't have it every day, but we had it several times.
You've made a mistake.
I don't know. We did a lot right on the trip. And then one day we drove to the city of Siena and we wandered around there. We saw the cathedral there. We went to the Museo Tortura, which Lily, Dominic's girlfriend, didn't understand. She thought it said Tartufo. She thought it was the mushroom museum, and it was the torture museum. Me and Dominic could see the scene earlier a sign earlier in the day, and we're like, "Oh, that'd be funny to see or whatever." And then we were walking down to the main piazza, and we literally walked past it. We're like, "Okay, well now we have to go in and see it." Her and Gianna came in with us, and they didn't know what we were going in to do.
Amazing.
She's like, "What is all this to do with like truffles or whatever?" And we're like, "It's the torture museum, not the truffle museum."
Yeah.
So that was certainly an experience.
The John Turturro Museum.
Yeah, the John. It could have just been the Turturro Museum. All three of them are actors.
It's true. That's incredible. Did you get to go to the what's that? The gallery called Academia with David?
No. I think I don't remember why we couldn't go to that one. We couldn't go in El Duomo either because we wanted to go Sunday and it was closed on Sunday, which we didn't know. And there was a replica, a full-size replica of David out in the piazza right outside of her, and plus there was the fountain too. I forget what that fountain was called, which was pretty cool.
Nice.
And then from there we drove to Roma, and we were there for like a day and a half. We got there in the.
I would also say that's enough.
Yeah, we got there in the afternoon. We walked to the Trevi Fountain. Mm-hmm. We walked to a restaurant, had dinner, phenomenal dinner. Walked back to Trevi Fountain to see it at night, and then went back. There was a rooftop bar, so we hung out there for a while. And then the next day we went to the Vatican and did a whole tour there, and then went to do a tour of the Colosseum. So that was a day.
Man, I don't think it'll ever not blow me away, the Colosseum. Walking into it,
all of it was the Vatican.
It's wild.
All of it blew me away.
No.
We actually had to leave kind of early from the Vatican trip to make it to the Colosseum one. We got to go in St. Peter's, but we were probably in there for 45 minutes, and we still ended up having to kind of leave early. The tour wasn't done. We're we got to make it in time for this other one.
Wait, this was from the Vatican, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot in there.
Yeah.
Did you see it? But you got to go to the Sistine Chapel?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right,
and
cool.
we walked through a couple of the other galleries and museums and stuff, because there's 14 museums in there.
Yeah, they're all over the place. That's cool.
So that was a full day. And then
I know you obviously went past it, going to the Colosseum, but did you get to go up to the Circus Maximus?
Yes.
That also is so cool to look.
Well, it's impressive, even though there's nothing to actually see.
I know, and I don't understand why. I think there's just something so surreal about stepping across a street into ancient Rome. I think that's what makes it really wild.
Yeah, and that one was pretty obvious too, because you see a bunch of old buildings and new buildings and old buildings, and then all of a sudden you drive into this one little area, and it's wait a minute, this is literally something entirely different somehow.
Yeah.
Even though right there, there's a normal restaurant, it's right.
Yeah,
there.
It's pretty wild. That preservation is impressive.
Yeah, but yeah, we did the whole Colosseum itself, and then we walked behind it up to the Forum and all the palace and all that stuff. The Caesar's Palace. He lived there.
Is this the Caesar's Palace?
And then the next day we drove down to Positano.
Cool.
We drove through Pompeii. I did not realize that the Pompeii ruins were in the middle of a current day city called Pompeii. I assumed it was somewhere off to the side, just its own thing, and it's not. So yeah, we just took a quick look at that, and then we kept going. That was an interesting drive. That was where my dad realized that driving on mountainous coast, he gets vertigo.
Who gets vertigo? Oh, he gets vertigo.
He was driving, yes.
Oofa.
Yeah, so that was an experience, and then we're driving with this asinine van.
A regular Lucille, too.
Yeah, actually. We're driving with this asinine van in Positano, which is
certainly too big for Positano.
It's suicide. It's suicide. Yeah. Even though, I watched tour buses go down the same drive we were going. It's how?
Yeah, I know. Mm-hmm. I was on one of those.
Yeah. That's the way to do it, though,
we cheered around every corner.
That's the way to do it.
We're alive.
It's not your responsibility. It's not your responsibility. It's not your problem, right? It's someone else's problem. Honestly.
Antonello.
Yeah, that's
he got a standing ovation by the end of that trip.
Well, the worst part about it was, at that point of the drive, my sister was navigating. I was in the middle row, and she missed the turn. And so we started driving down, and it's we're supposed to go up there. We went from we're 2 minutes away to we're 26 minutes away.
Yeah.
And where do you turn around?
Yeah.
That was.
I guess we're going on to the next leg of the trip.
No, we figured it out somehow eventually.
Yeah.
That was harrowing.
That's crazy.
We were up. So,
but even so, though, that drive is so beautiful. It's beautiful. It's unbelievable.
It's beautiful, and based on no research, and I don't care whether it's true or not, I'm just going to state it as a fact. Dante Alighieri wrote the Divine Comedy after staying there, because we started calling it Descending the Levels of Hell to go to different places because of how steep. We counted it. So we went and we found the woman at bed and breakfast Airbnb that we're staying. There's like 40 units within the same parking lot. All these different like apartments and stuff like stacked around and on top of and between each other and shit up there. There's like a communal pool there, with like a lifeguard on duty.
Yeah.
And so she's like, "Oh yeah, you go down to like past the church to that's where the best grocery store is." And, okay, cool. 232 steps. It's 232 steps, and these are steep steps.
Yeah.
So
it's like my old apartment.
Many more steps. So we go down. So we get there. It's probably 6:00 or something like that. So me and my dad and my brother go down to the grocery store. My dad said, "Okay, let's just make dinner tonight.
Let's just live here now."
Well, so let's go buy a bunch of food. He goes, "We'll buy all the stuff for breakfast every morning. Buy stuff for one dinner. Get some wine. We'll get some whiskey." They sold like bullet bourbon there. So we buy a whole bunch of stuff. They're like, it felt like we were buying out a third of the store.
Sure.
So they're like, oh yeah, here's some bags, and then we keep like putting stuff like here's a box. So we finish. My dad goes, "Oh, I gotta go around because we had to like pay." Because
here's a local that will carry this for you.
Oh, God, I wish I would have paid that person. So my dad was like out of cash, and we needed to pay. You have to pay the tourist tax every like place that you stay or whatever. And so me and Dominic go to walk back up. So I'm carrying this box that has like multiple bottles of wine, a bottle of grappa, a bottle of whiskey, a bunch of food, like all this shit. Dominic's got like 3 or 4 bags that he's carrying as well. So we start going. I make it up the first long ass flight of stairs to there's like a little piazza there at the church. So me and Dominic swap. We take like 90 seconds, and then we swap. I'm carrying the bags, he's carrying the box. So we go up the next staircase. Stop. This wasn't one staircase. This was like 5 consecutive staircases. So we stop like halfway up, swap again, make it to the top, swap again. We walk up to where there was this restaurant. We were going to like ask them if they had dinner. We were there on like a Wednesday, and they're closed on Wednesdays. They're open 8 days a week. So we stop there, swap one last time, make it into the driveway. The driveway is a huge, long downhill driveway to like all of the place. We walk all the way back down. Whatever. It's been like half an hour, like walking from the grocery store.
Yeah,
I am like sucking wind, like for real. Like I am like out of breath, partially because I'm carrying this like huge, heavy box that is like compressing my lungs while I'm carrying.
But mostly because you've just been on the Italian Stairmaster.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
So we got. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm just like. I'm like, I need a minute, guys. So we get settled. We have a good, whatever. We make dinner, simple dinner. It's like, gnocchi and just like a regular like red sauce with I forgot what we had in there. We had something in there, and so the next day we're taking a boat trip to Capri, and
nice.
Of course, we're running late again. And
it was Scala Maestra, by the way. That was
what's that?
Stairmaster in Italian.
So of course we're late and we're not going to be able to take the bus down. We have to take it all the way to the bottom of the. We have to take it to the beach basically. We have to take it all the way to the bottom.
Yeah,
we're at like the second highest level of the entire town, and like at that point you can tell like it's getting thin. Like it's not densely populated the way it is like further down. So we have to go down every fucking staircase in Positano. We're 2/3 of the way down, and I'm like, so first of all, my legs are beat now because of the trip we took up the day before. And going downstairs is easier than going upstairs, but after a certain point, it's not easier anymore. After like several hundred stairs, you're just as jelly-legged as if you would be going up.
Dude, I get that. A quick aside, Brian and I went on a bike ride years ago, and we were like, do you want to keep going? Like, I feel fine. You want to keep going? We rode like all through Staten Island, like from basically from like one end to the other, and then we kept going. Then we rode to the pizzeria. Then we rode back. Like we were all over the place, and we're like, that's weird. Like, and we weren't like regular like bikers, regularly riding bikes or anything like that. And that night we played poker, and we're sitting down. It's like 10:30.
You get up from the table?
No, we didn't get up. Someone's dealing a hand, and like my face must have changed expression because I was like, something's not right. and my legs started to feel like they were on fire. I was just sitting there, and at the same exact time, Brian was having the same sensation.
Yeah, because you finally sat down and the lactic acid was just hanging out.
Yeah. It was horrible.
So we get 2/3 of the way down, and I turn to Dominic, and I'm like, we're literally going the reverse of the journey that like Frodo and Sam go, climbing the staircase to enter Minas Morgul. Yep. It's like, it's so many fucking stairs. It's literally thousands of stairs.
It's comical.
So we get to the bottom. We barely make the boat. We were supposed to we had like the email confirmation. It says, this is not a ticket, but you have purchased tickets. Turn this in. Get your tickets. We get down like 5 minutes before the boat's supposed to leave.
You have to go up those stairs to get the tickets. No,
we go straight to the boat, and he goes, I was like, is this? I don't remember. It was like Positano Jet or some shit like that. I don't remember. Uh-huh. And he's like, yeah, which one are you looking for? I was like, I don't know. Take this. And looked at it. He goes, get on the boat. Whatever. It's like, all right, thank God. So we get on the boat. We sit up front because all the seats are taken at this point. We sit up at the front. The front was actually like, even though we're inside, like the door is open there, so at least we're getting fresh air blowing in when they start going. My sister is deathly afraid of boats.
Oh no!
She's like literally eyes closed, sitting like erect posture forward, gripping the chair that she's sitting on.
Is it boats or water or?
It's boats on the ocean.
Okay,
I think.
All right.
Because she wasn't seasick; it was fear.
No, it's fear. Yeah, that's.
So we're going. She's like Lily. Literally is like, "Do you want to hold my hand?" And she's like clutching her hand, clutching. I'll have to show you the picture. Send you a picture. Clutching the chair, sitting with her eyes closed. Oh, I'm dying laughing. I took a picture of it. She's like, "I need a drink. I need a drink. I need a drink." It's like, okay, like we'll get you a drink when we get over there. She's sitting there. We're all like, kind of. Like, my mom is kind of just like doesn't feel good because of all the stairs and all that. Dominic passed out on the bench somehow. Me and Lily are laughing. My dad's kind of just in his own world. And then this music starts playing, and I turn around, and I'm like, Gianna, you're about to get your wish. And she's like, what? There's these 3 Italian guys on the boat coming around making limoncello spritzes for everyone sitting on the boat, playing music. They got the limoncello, they got the Prosecco, they got frozen lemonade.
Oh, that's so good.
Dude, it was good. And I was like, She's like, what do you want? I was like, no, seriously, I'm not fucking with you. Turn around. And she looks, and she's like, I need one.
My saviors.
So we booked chairs at this beach club in Capri.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we were there on the beach for a few hours. They had like service there, so we had actually a really fucking good hamburger there. No, it was really random. They had other like snack things that were good too, but it was like a legitimately really good burger.
Wild boar ragu.
No, that's only in Tuscany. So they made these things. It was like hush puppies, but it was like a medley of, this one was like zucchini, and this one was like shrimp, and this one was like some other sort of, I don't know. It was really good. It was kind of like weirdly sweet. I don't know. It was good. We got drinks. Cool. They did a little shopping. Took the boat back. More limoncello spritz.
Did you guys do the funiculi?
No.
The big elevator.
No, I didn't see that.
Oh no, maybe we were just the other side of it. Maybe
is that there or is that in Amalfi?
Yeah. No, it's there.
Okay, because I didn't hear anything about that. I didn't see.
I only know because we went there and we took it up to the top, and that was actually where I had one of the best gelato of the trip.
Oh, okay. Well, I told you about one of the best meals I had.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about to tell you about the best single dish maybe I've ever had in my life.
Oh boy.
So we get there, we get totally lost, we're trying to find the bus stop. We're like, okay, well we have to go up. So we go up the way we can. Not the right staircase. Apparently there's multiple different staircases to get to multiple different levels. So we have to go back down all the way. No, we only went up a couple levels. We didn't go, we weren't even halfway back up. Walk around to the other side, and it's actually a ramp up to the first level. Okay. Find the bus stop. There's a bus in 15 minutes, or there's a bus in an hour and 15 minutes, or whatever. So it's like, okay, get the tickets, whatever. Let's just eat dinner here because, like, who knows, like, what the situation will be. So we walk, like, there's a couple of restaurants right there. So we walk. It's like a wine bar is where we find that will actually, like, take us. And we go in. Now, the wine was great, which we expected. Wasn't sure what the food was going to be like. I'm not that I thought it was going to be bad, but I just didn't give me the vibe of, like, this is like a restaurant.
Sure.
I thought it was going to be, like, just a couple of little things. Everything we had was really good. They bring out this, I forget what it was. It was like some sort of vegan, like, arancino or something like that. It was actually pretty good. But, we have a couple of different types of appetizers, whatever that you expect. All the entrees were good. Everything was really cool. I was the only one to order it because, like, 2 people ordered one thing, 2 people ordered another thing. It was lamb sirloin in a plum mustard with carrots and mashed potatoes.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Anthony, the sauce, this plum mustard, was literally divine. And the lamb sirloin cooked to perfection. Like, sure. I ordered it rare. It's deep red and soft and whatever. I'm just like, took a bite of it and I was like, someone give me a piece of bread. And I'm like, tear off a piece for everyone, like, scooped up some of the sauce. Like, you all have to try this. So, like, okay, like, fine, whatever. Oh, wow, that was really amazing.
That's Dude, awesome.
It was the most, seriously, it's probably the best single thing I've ever, it might be the best single thing I've ever eaten. It was so freaking good.
Ah, I love that.
Yeah, so the day after that, we went to the pool, and then we went to dinner. Where the fuck did we go to dinner? Oh, sorry, no. We went to the pool, then we drove to Sorrento. We went to...
I loved Sorrento when we went last time.
We probably didn't spend as much time. I wasn't sure what to expect from it at first. I didn't get a good vibe from it at first. But where we went was cool. We went to a lemon grove. We learned about lemons. It was not an orchard. It was a grove. Because they grew many things there, but mostly lemons. I have to show you the picture of this one lemon I saw because it was almost the size of Dominic's head.
I was going to say, it was a cantaloupe.
Yeah, because I took a picture of it, and I was like, there's no sense of scale for this. I was like, Dominic, you need to stand over here. And I took a picture with him. It's like dangling like just above and like to the side of him. And it's like 70% the size of his head. It's ridiculous.
Well, when we were there, we got to stay at like a boutique hotel on like the top of this hill that was surrounded by olive trees and lemon trees, and it was just wonderful.
Yeah. So we got to. So he like cut up the lemons, whatever. He goes, we're going to show you different like stuff, whatever. He goes, this is what my grandma used to make for me and my cousins or whatever when she wanted us to be quiet. He literally just shook sugar on slices of lemon. He goes, by the way, if you're feeling daring, eat the whole thing. Eat the rind, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually really good.
Yeah.
He's like, don't do that if you get that from a store, but here it's okay.
Yeah.
Then they made us lemonade. He goes, I'm not even going to put sugar in it. If you want it, I'll put it in, whatever. So we drink. It was just lemon juice and water. Phenomenal. Yeah. We had limoncello there that they made. I guess it's a pretty new operation. They've been open for a couple of years. It's like a whole thing with this, was it the terrazza or something like that? The terrace farming that they do there.
Okay.
It was something like that. So then they had some sort of lemon marmalade and like orange marmalade that they made, or citrus marmalade, because it was like orange, lemon, and one other thing I forget. We bought some of that and brought it back. All of it was so good.
Can you please supply me with some of that and a bread in the oven?
Yes. Was it pane and forno? Yeah, we had bread in the oven every morning for breakfast in Positano. Nice. And then we went to dinner at this place down in like the heart of like the city there. Like seafood. I mean, obviously all of them basically seafood places. I ordered what was like the mixed grill or whatever, it was like frito misto or whatever. Mm-hmm. I had seen versions of that all over the place. I was not prepared for this one because there were many entire fishes on my plate.
Nice.
It was an adventure. It came with like 4 different like sauces or whatever that you can kind of dip, but I have never taken apart a fully cooked fish before. where I'm like yanking the head and tail and like spines out of like fish and trying to not swallow 400 fish bones.
Yeah,
that was an adventure.
But the meat of the fish,
it was really
incredible
good.
from being cooked with it. Yeah, it's a risk reward.
It took a lot of work. Like everyone was waiting for me to finish eating. It was really good, but it was an adventure. And then the next day we went to the beach in Positano, not the main beach. We went to there's like a resort off to the side.
Oh, cool.
We like booked like chairs down there, and then had dinner at the restaurant there. We ordered like a bunch of pizzas and like a couple other things, and that was all really, really good.
Nice.
They had one pizza was really good. It was like sausage, like taken out of the casing, like with it wasn't regular sauce. It was some sort of pumpkin sauce.
Cool.
Yeah, it looks really weird. I took a picture of it because it's like yellow, but it tasted really good. It was sweet. And then the final day we went to the pool, and then we went to the restaurant that was right around the corner from us. Oh, by the way, there was a grocery store that was like 45 feet from our thing. So my dad and my brother went there a few times. I was like, are you fucking serious? There was one literally right outside of our place. But that restaurant, again, just phenomenal meal. Really cool view because it's like right up. It's like on like the second level of the building, so you look down the entire city and beach and all that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, and then we had the escapade from hell leaving the next day, which I recounted to you in text form. But the flight was pretty much fine, and getting home was all good. So it was a ridiculous trip, as you could tell from the amount of time I just spent talking about it.
Right, but all in all, one of those like once in a lifetime type of experiences, though.
Oh, absolutely. Incredible thing. Not restful. I mean, as you could tell, we were super busy the whole time. But incredibly enjoyable, like once in a lifetime stuff, like some really cool things to see. Incredible food, incredible drink. I drank so much freaking wine. I found grappa that I actually like. It's the grappa, the barrique, the one that's in the oak, like the French oak casks. Actually, really good. I brought back a bottle of it. It comes out like a light brown color.
Yeah,
usually grappa.
I like all the grappa that I've had. So
I've only had the whatever you can get here like once or twice, and it was okay. I wasn't really.
There's one particular bottle that Kim found for me that is like really, really good. I'll see if I can find it for you. It's nice.
Yeah,
but that's awesome. I'm glad you had such a successful trip.
Oh yeah, it was great. It literally rained the day that we went to the wineries. It rained for like an hour while we were on the bus. Otherwise, it didn't rain the whole time.
Amazing.
Beautiful weather. Like one day it was like 78 degrees. Every other day it was like low 80s. Like a couple of days it was like mid to high 80s. But like a week and a half before in Rome it was like 105 degrees. And I think this past week, which is a week or two after we left, it was again like 100 degrees. So we got lucky with that.
Oh man, that's crazy. That's cool. At least I'm glad you had a nice trip. Things over here have been on the hectic side. Yeah. I'm not sure. I know that we've talked about like random pieces of what's been going on our end.
So I will tell you the brief that you gave me before I left, and then you can fill me in what happened after that. So you bought a house finally after over a year of searching.
17 months. Yep.
Is it that long? Okay. Well, I know you went on hiatus for a couple months, but yeah, like total time, right?
Yep.
You had many bats.
Many bats.
In the attic of the new house. Had some sort of arrangement where you had to like rent your own house that you're leaving for like a month. It looks like we're now past a month.
60 days we got.
Okay, 60 days. You told me a month originally. Yeah. In which you had to get rid of the other situation in order to move in. The room you're sitting in is your old office that you've always been in. It is very empty. So obviously the move has been underway. And that's about all I know.
The move has commenced. So what folks, I believe we brought up the bats on the show before too, but
that was probably the last episode that we did. Yeah.
Just to recap, they're protected in New Jersey. You can't just remove them. So you have to have them properly.
They get squatters' rights?
They get squatters' rights. You have to properly evict them. They call it a bat exclusion. They call it a bat exclusion program.
Okay.
which I found funny. I got a chuckle out of that. But basically, they come in and they don't even need to go inside your house to do this, but they go around the outside along all of the trim of the roof and find anywhere where there's a remote like possibility of a gap, and they like basically stuff what looks like carbon like odor filter in it. It's probably just something to block it. Find the areas where they can see guano and assume that those are the areas that they might be coming out of / living in, and they attach these bat cones, registered trademark, to the, which is basically just like I'm gonna guess it's like a 6 to 12 inch like clear cylinder. Okay. I can't properly gauge the size of it from standing on the street and looking up at the house, but it's basically a funnel. It gets narrower towards the end, and the bats, when they go out to hunt, they can't come back in. They can't get back in the funnel.
Oh, it's like
one way.
It's like the wasp trap things that are like conical, where like they can go in but they can't get back out.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the reverse of that, obviously.
So they put like 3 or 4 of those around the outside corners. So
they're not allowed they're not allowed to remove them. They just have to like invite them to leave.
Yeah, it's like the reverse vampire.
I would say this. I guess this makes sense because once a vampire's in, they're in.
Yeah,
which you never saw that episode of Archer, but.
But yeah, so I've been on the phone numerous times with the company that's doing the work, which was they were hired by the previous owners. That was part of the contract that they had to have it taken care of, obviously. Yeah. But very nice person, good company. He's been working with me, like keeping me like being very accommodating to like my questions and concerns and whatnot. He's like, look, here's the deal. Technically, what we do is we put this stuff in, and we'll come back usually in like 4 weeks. And then we'll just remove everything. We'll close it all up and we'll clean up the inside of the attic. And he's like, we don't have to wait that long. He's like, they're usually gone in 4 days. And I was like, oh. And I was like, well, then can you move me up? And he understands like we're trying to move and we're coordinating these dates and stuff. So they finally finished putting like installing the stuff like last week. They had to come back multiple times. Yeah, I don't know what happened. It took them multiple trips to actually get it done. So by the end of next week, they're going to come to finish the job. Hopefully, I have a few days buffer just in case there's any sort of issue. And then we have the movers coming on the 11th. We're going to clear out the house that week, and then we'll be fully out of here by the 15th.
Okay.
So that's the deal. But yes, I'm currently living in my rented previous home, which is weird.
It is.
We've moved most of the stuff. Most of the stuff is in the garage of the new house. And at this point, I could safely say that everything that we own would fit in just the garage of the new house, which is pretty cool.
Well, I don't think you showed me pictures of this one. I know I saw pictures of the last one that you almost
previous
bought.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is much bigger than that one.
Really? Okay.
So that's nice. It ended up, all in all, like all of these headaches, it's worked out for the best. Like it's like exactly what we wanted. In a really nice, quiet, no outlet neighborhood.
No nuclear trains.
No nuclear trains. That was another one. It's 5 minutes away from here.
Ah, okay.
It's great. And
that's good for me because I don't want to have to go. I was really worried I was going to have to go like an additional 45 minutes from the hour 45 minutes that you already
and we're actually going to have multiple places that guests can sleep.
Nice.
Which will be cool.
I don't know. I've really grown fond of the floor of your office.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of those places will be my new office, but my new office it's so much bigger than this room. I mean, that room is fine for an office. It's not when you work from home every day.
Yeah, okay.
It gets a little cell-like.
It's bigger than a cubicle.
yeah, that's fair. But yeah, I've got we have a lot of space, which is very beneficial and very necessary. Because the other thing that we might not have talked about on the show is that boy number 2 is on the way, and will be arriving late November.
Yes. Good.
So expect another hiatus from us.
Yeah, the idea here is let's try and crush 2 straight months of fantastic episodes. And then we'll probably go off for 3 or 4 months again, like we did last time when Elliot was born. So
yeah, then we'll come back hot.
Which is good because we always end up with an accidental 1 month hiatus around the holidays anyway, so that's already baked in.
Well, just think about it this way, right? Like, you're going to be short on content because by the time we come back, I'm sure the effects of all of these strikes will be...
Yeah, more on that later.
Really
and I was really hoping that we would be able to sign off with the new Dune movie, and that's not going to happen anymore. We'll talk about that in the news section.
Yeah. But yeah, those are the haps. That's what's going on here. I will say, you know what? You want to go on? You love tangents.
Wild tangents.
Okay. I have been coordinating far too many things the past however many months trying to get the deal to happen and everything. Yeah. And now that we're in the space of we have access to that. Oh, Roger painted my house.
Oh, nice.
Friend of the family.
Did he bring you any was it Guatemalan food? Was that what it was?
No, we didn't get any Guatemalan food this time, but my mom had him come to like fix one thing at their house. Okay. And she made him a lasagna.
Oh, that's nice.
So
they did for cultural exchange. They brought your parents a bunch of food, and your mom brought them food. They didn't bring us any food, man. They were in our house for like a week or 2 weeks, week and a half, whatever it was.
He was there for a while, and getting your whole house painted is an expense.
Mm-hmm.
However, the amount of work this guy does
they're fantastic. They do a great
out
job.
Of control.
Yeah,
like it's unfathomable. But that has been the blessing of like having access to the house. In the meantime, we've been able to do some work. So we've replaced the rugs upstairs with newer, pet-friendly, like non-allergen-y rugs.
Yeah.
Significantly cheaper than going in another material, which is why we ultimately did it. But then the rug downstairs we replaced with there's one room downstairs that had rug that we replaced with like the vinyl plank flooring. And,
okay.
So that came out nice. So the bottom floor is. The main floor is mostly hardwood, and then one room is that vinyl plank, and then the upstairs is all rug.
Okay.
And they did a hell of a job. The people that we use for that, and if you're ever in the market for flooring, I know it's a well-known company, but Empire's like warranties are bananas. So
really? Okay.
It was it's basically like for 5 years. If anything happens accidentally, no questions asked, they will fix it.
That might have been who did our floors when we had Roger paint the house. We had the floor guys too, but it was different guys. That might have been who did ours. I don't remember.
But then like the rug is covered for like 30 years.
Oh, okay.
And like there's a lot. Yeah, I was like, this also seems worth it. And they did it in a day and a half.
Yeah, the floors were fast. It was the painting that took a lot longer.
I was like, Jesus. But they did a great job. So yeah, like I said, we've been able to have some of that stuff done. All right, so now my tangent. That was a sub-tangent. This is the actual tangent. I've been trying to coordinate a lot of things. One of the things that I'm trying to do is I need to make sure that I wanted to get myself set up so that I'll have internet in the next house, like with relative speed. So I originally was like, you know what? Why don't I activate another plan there in the meantime and then cancel this one under the same account? But I can't get this same plan now there. However, I can transfer this plan there.
Okay.
And this plan, I found out, is like hella cost efficient because it's $89 a month.
Mm-hmm.
What we have right now for Fios, like gigabit internet.
Okay.
But that includes HBO Max and the Disney bundle.
Okay.
So like, there's a lot of rolled in cost there that I would be paying on top of a service.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to keep that. So I was like, whatever, I'll just go with, if it means transferring the service and then working from there for a few days while like in between the move and like taking time off to finish that stuff up. I was like, I'll just do that. So I contacted Verizon and I explained the situation. I was like, what's the soonest you can have me over there? I want to get this out of there. And then I figured also if I was able to just do it like right away, I'd buy one of those like T-Mobile hotspots for like a couple weeks to just service this house while we're still here.
Yeah.
But regardless, it came down to like the soonest we can do it is September 6th. I was like, well, I was hoping for sooner than that, but whatever. It's fine. Let's just go with it. At least I get to keep my plan, exact payment, all that structure. They confirmed that, showed me the receipts. Like, we're good to go there. I was like, cool. They're like, okay, great. your scheduled install is September 6th. We'll give you a call with a 2-hour window on that day. And I was like, okay, great. And they're like, and your current service has been disconnected. And I was like, that's not what we want. And I was like, they're like, well, you can't have the service overlap. I was like, you realize September 6th is not now. So I had to
turn it off September 5th, sir.
Exactly. So I was like, I'm going to need that service through September 5th. They're like, yeah, of course, no problem. We'll turn that right back on for you. And I was like, so they already turned it off. I was like, okay, thank you. Meanwhile, I'm sitting on the couch doing this, and Kim is watching something on Netflix, and they're like, okay, they're like, you're all set, spinner. I'm like, I was like, we're so not all set.
See, you say that, but
yes. And I was like, well, funny you should say that. My internet is currently out. And they're like, all right, now I'm going to speed things up. For the next 2 hours, I am on tech support.
Yeah, this was, remember my conversation about the internet and DirecTV conversations I had across a couple of days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were like, can you reset your router? I was like, I can.
It's not going to do anything, but I can.
But it's not going to do anything. Yeah, basically. I was like, okay, fine. So I was like, in the meantime, I was like, you know what I'm going to do? Let me disconnect all of my equipment and just plug their router in, just so that because they can monitor their routers and stuff like that. I'll make sure that they know that my thing. And they're like, yeah, we see it, blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay. I was like, yeah, it's saying that we don't have, the service is not there. And I was like, yeah, I'm aware. I'm not online. They're like, okay, can you try this? I went outside. I unbolted the casing around the ONT, which is like the box that the fiber comes into. And they were like, can you send us a picture of the lights on there? I was like, yep, here's all the lights. I was like, great. And I was going back for it. And that, we're on, I'm telling you, it's a little bit more than 2 hours that I'm on the phone troubleshooting this thing that I know is not an issue on my end.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, we need to take a step back. I was like, you turned it off. I'm going to need you to just turn it back on. Like, it is as simple as that. There's nothing else there's nothing I can do on my end. Which is usually what they tell you. I've done, I'll follow all these steps, but you ultimately need to turn it back on. And they're like, oh yeah, we don't know what's happening. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, you're going to just send a technician right away. And then they were like, okay, the next available is tomorrow morning. And they gave me every 30 minutes starting at 8 o'clock. I was like, I will take the first available. Thank you kindly. So they scheduled for 8 o'clock. I hung up the phone in a fit of rage. I was like, this is just ridiculous. I had enough to do that day. So we left. 8 o'clock rolls around the next day. The tech comes in. He's like, hey, can you take me down to your equipment? I was like, sure. I was like, but before we get started, I was like, let me explain to you what happened. I called Verizon because I am moving. They are transferring this service from this address to the new address on September 6th. This address needs to stay active until September 5th. He's like, but they disconnected it during that call, and then they didn't turn it back on. And he's like, there's nothing I can do here. And I was like, I'm aware. And he's like, I'll call them. And I was like, thank you. So he calls, and he's here for 30 minutes, and they give him the runaround. He does all of the steps that I did the day before. He goes to the truck. He replaces my router just to prove to them that it's not an issue on my end. He goes to the truck. He replaces the ONT box just to prove to them.
I just don't understand why they can't just click the button. They have the button there.
I know they have. That's the thing. So I'm waiting this whole time.
What's stopping them? Okay, I'm going to press the button, sir. And then when that doesn't work, oh wait, it worked. Okay, great. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. That's what I'm getting at too. Or I'm like, look, I don't know what your system looks like, but I'm fairly certain you have to click one box, without seeing it or knowing anything about it. That would be my guess.
This reminds me of that stupid scene from Mystery Men when Greg Kinnear's not paying attention. He's trying to tell them the sequence of flips of switches.
Yeah,
just flip the switch.
I'm sitting on the stairs in my on the downstairs portion of the stairs, just waiting for him to do all of his things. And he's like, "All right, sir, do you mind checking your internet again?" And I was like, "Sure enough, I had internet on my phone." And I was like, "Well, you know what? Let me check a non-cellular connected device before I let you leave. You are in fact held hostage right now until this is resolved." I go to my computer. Not only am I getting internet, but I'm actually now getting the full gigabit that I was supposed to be getting for the past 3 years that they were like, oh yeah, sometimes it's slower. I was like, no, there's an issue. I'm only getting 300 down. And it's like, but no, now suddenly I'm getting the full gig. Anyway, I was like, that's a different battle for a different day. I was like, yep, we're back online. He's like, okay. And he's like, packed some stuff up and he's about to leave. I was like, what was the problem? He goes, it was a back-end issue. I was like, I know it was. Like, what do I have to tell them next time? Like, where on the page is the button? Like, can you tell me how to explain to them what to click?
Can you show me a picture of where?
Yeah. Oh my god. That's what I should have done to the tech support guy. I was like, can you take a video of your box and send it to me? I was like, can you take a video of your fucking screen and I will highlight on it what you need to click. I was so mad. It was like one of those like things that was really sticking with me. Like I couldn't get over it. I was furious.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I can't. I'm doing all of these things. I'm doing too many things right now, and I'm doing everything to the best of my ability. And it's like, and you are not.
You're doing too much. Do less.
Exactly.
Well, now you're doing nothing. You gotta do more than that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I was livid, Alessandro.
I believe it.
But whatever. Sometime next week I won't have internet. So
we'll figure it out.
Let's shoot for recording on Tuesday because I'm fairly certain on Wednesday. We're also going to want to be done by midnight, just in case.
Yeah.
We'll make it a short episode.
We always say that, and it never happens.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, let's talk about some movie stuff. So these Dune delays, what happened there?
So you remember the producers? Well, not the producers, the writers and the actors strike, because
yes.
it's happening. We're officially. So it's funny. There was this delay, and then today I also saw. I didn't get a chance to actually read it. I just skimmed it real quick. But my close personal friend Alan Sepinwall wrote how the fall TV schedule is going to be abysmal because none of the shows are either finished being made or going to be like left to be aired because they've aired them all.
Right.
But yeah, no, Dune was delayed because during the strike, writers and actors are not allowed to do promotion for the movies. Mm-hmm. And rather than just pay the marketing budget and try and just do trailers and all that, because they can't do all these press junkets and all those things, they just decided to punt to next year, which goes to show you that they're expecting this to last quite some time.
Yeah.
Which shouldn't surprise anyone because we're now 3 or 4 months into this, at least on the writer side, and about
that sucks.
Time for the actor side. Also pretty shitty that actually the movie we're doing today, as well as actually it's more the Barbenheimer thing. They, with the actors, they had asked for an extension of the talks before the CBA ended, and they agreed to it. And then Barbenheimer happened, and then they said, yeah, we're not going to continue talks. You guys might as well just go on strike. So they did the extension to get to that day so that they would all be doing the press for that, which is pretty fucked up. But yeah, don't expect this. I mean, the last one, the one in 2008, went for I don't know what it was, 10 months or something like that. So this isn't going to end anytime soon. We're going to be running out of television shortly. There will be some movies that may or may not go. I was reading an article today that because of the Dune movie moving, it was supposed to be November 3rd or something like that. How the Marvels is supposed to kick off the week after, and how if Disney doesn't move that one will benefit because it won't have any overlap, and actually they will have access to IMAX screens they wouldn't have otherwise had access to because Dune had a monopoly on them. So, but that's assuming that they still air that movie then, because they could punt that to next year as well. So basically there was 1 or 2 big tentpoles left for this year that, I mean, for me, I was super looking forward to. The Dune movie, obviously.
Same.
For the end of this year, which was one that's actually been pretty good for movies overall, in a way that some of the preceding years hadn't been with COVID and all that. And now the main attraction for me is no longer on the schedule until several months from now. It's frustrating. We've seen delays in movies before. Usually it's because they're not done making them. This one's done. So it's pretty shitty that we're not going to get to see it.
That sucks.
Yeah.
But it sucks even more that they have to deal with this.
Yes. It's pretty frustrating. I was reading a little bit. I haven't delved too deeply into it. I've been talking about it a little bit lately. Because initially the reason that the strikes kicked off was basically that it was an AMT or AMPTP or whatever the fuck the producers, the studios themselves, that guild or whatever the fuck that is the bargaining arm from the studio side. They were just flat out refusing to negotiate on a bunch of issues, which is why the strikes actually started. They actually had some meetings over the last 2 weeks, and they went flatly nowhere. So this is we're still going to go for a while here.
Yeah, brutal.
Yeah.
Well, what did they just delayed it? Did they give a target?
Yeah, I think it was March. I forget the date, but I think it was March of next year.
All right. So maybe we'll come back with 2? No, I think we'll be back before then. Maybe. Yeah, Who knows? Who can say?
To you. I don't remember what the full total of the hiatus was last time. Obviously, it's entirely up to what you and your family can manage.
I'm sure it'll be a little extra chaotic this time too. It'll be great.
Yeah. Now that 2 of them.
Yeah. Oh, you just reminded me of something else that I watched.
Oh, okay.
I've been trying to keep my consumption list up to date, but I fell apart and definitely did not.
I had to rack my brains earlier today because I watched 7 movies on six or 7 movies on the planes. That's all I really watched while I was over there. More on that later. But that's all for this news. But do you want to talk about some trailers that we watched?
Yeah, let's talk about some trailers because this is what you're going to get.
Things that may or may not be coming out.
Yeah. What were the 2 of them again?
So we had the new Zack Snyder movie on Netflix, which is a 2-part movie. This is part 1 that will be coming out. It's Rebel Moon.
Mm-hmm. It's a movie?
Yeah,
okay. I misunderstood. I thought it was a series with 2 drops.
No, I'm 99% sure that it's a part 1 and part 2 movies, and each of them has a subtitle that I don't remember.
Right.
Because it's not on the main thing. It was at the end of the trailer. They said part 1.
I gotta say,
November, whatever, and then part 2, early next year, and each of them had a subtitle.
I watched that whole trailer, and I was like, I haven't the slightest idea what this is.
Yeah, absolutely. I watched the whole thing. I was like, man, this is a fever dream because it's all over the place. That not inherently in a bad way, just it was a lot. And at the end, when it said part 1, part 2, I was like, oh, that makes sense. That was 2 movies worth of trailer. Now I understand why it's just so much.
But even so, I didn't get any sort of context on what the movie's about.
So they've been doing a little bit of press already with it. The Netflix site Tudum did a little Q&A with Zack Snyder. And the gist of it is there's, sometime in the future, there's a kind of sci-fi-y whatever situation where people live on multiple planets. And there's this one little rebel moon, he said it, where it's a kind of quiet backwater and some conquering force comes in and they're not compliant. And it's some sort of sci-fi epic Civil War type of thing with all that fun stuff.
I am super sour on Zack Snyder, though.
I am too, but it's mostly directed at the DC stuff. This is something separate. I didn't watch Army of the Dead. I know my brother liked it. I heard some people liked it. It's one of those ones that eventually maybe I'll watch it. I didn't not watch it out of protest or anything like that. I just didn't grab me, and I had other things to do at the time. Yeah. I was actually intrigued by this.
We'll have a year of nothing, so we can probably watch things like that.
That's true. I was actually intrigued by this. The trailer was way extra. This has some just ridiculous over-the-top bust potential, but it's a really good cast, and I'm down for some sci-fi fuckery, so I'm willing. Sure. It's on Netflix, so I'll give it a shot. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well.
Yeah,
especially when
it's got a budget. It looked pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it looks better than any of those DC movies.
Yeah, it looks like a big budget sci-fi movie, which I'm usually here for. So,
sure.
Looks like Sophia Boutella is the lead. I like her. There's a bunch of other people in the cast that I really like. Don't ask me to recount any of them because I forgot already. But it was a bunch of people. It was Jimon Honshu and Ed Skrein, I think, plays the villain, and a bunch of other people. So. Anthony Hopkins.
There's a lot going on in that trailer. Yeah. Leading to a lot of nothing and misunderstanding on my part. But I'll watch it. I'm happy to watch something of that ilk.
He's had some time to distance himself from the DC thing. I've had some time. I'm willing to try and be neutral about it. Like, I'm not going in super hyped for it, but I'm not going in expecting to hate it either. Like, just let's see what it is.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, that's fair. And then on the topic of Netflix garbage trailers, the next movie was, what's it called?
So that one I'm pretty
sure. This is a show.
Sure
this is like a 10-part show or something like that?
Yes. So I agree. I haven't, other than The Witcher, which I still haven't finished the newest season, more on that later. I have not really watched a Netflix show in quite some time now. Mm-hmm. Just, they don't really make shows that interest me anymore. But I will pretty much always be here for David Fincher. And I seem to recall loving another David Fincher Netflix show, a little thing called House of Cards. So I like David Fincher. I like Michael Fassbender. It looked like it's part Hitman, part Dexter. So yeah, let's give it a try. Why not? Yeah,
again, though, I was like, sure, tonally seems like something that I could potentially get behind. I have no idea what it's about.
I trust Fincher. It's going to be good. You know, basically, that's basically what it comes down to.
But like, what's the point of a trailer?
Well, technically, that was a teaser. But I mean, I'm pretty sure he's an assassin.
A long teaser.
It was, but at least I know when I clicked on it, it said like the killer. It's called the killer teaser.
Yeah,
and I was like, okay, yeah, it was like 80 seconds long or whatever. But
anyway, I guess that's something that we can watch.
It's a proof of concept thing. I don't care. It's David Fincher, Michael Fassbender. I'm going to watch it. Like, you know.
Yeah, sounds good to me. I think we can roll right into some consumption. So I've got a ton of stuff that I've watched since we've last spoke. But why don't you kick us off?
I have something that might excite you.
Oh,
something near and dear to your heart.
Oh,
it's airplane movies.
Yes. What movies are getting a higher rating this week, Al?
Well, all of them, because they're airplane movies, and according to your theory, they're all higher than they would be otherwise.
At least 1 to 2 points higher rating on
that being scale. That being said, oh, I thought it was half a point. It was full points.
Full points.
Okay. I didn't grade them. I can after you want. So I'm going to read you the list. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to read it. Actually, I pretty much almost put this in chronological order too. But I put it in the order of the first few movies were all movies I was seeing for the first time, and all of them were new or newish movies. And then the last couple of movies were movies I've seen before, but I watched on the planet. So the first movie, I'm going to read you the list, and then you can ask me to. You can tell me how much you want me to tell you about each of those movies, and I'll do my best to give it a quick grade, although that's going to be a struggle for me to do quickly. The first movie I watched was Operation Fortune. It was a Guy Ritchie movie starring Jason Statham and what the hell's her name from Parks and Rec, and Josh Hartnett and other Ritchie people. Then I watched Chevalier, which was that movie about that French. It was right before the French Civil War, and it was a guy who was born to a nobleman and a slave mother, and he became like the best composer / violinist of the time at that point, which is a heck of a story. I don't know how much of it is true or isn't true, but even if it's only 20% true, it's a hell of a story. I watched Confess Fletch, which I don't know if you've seen any of the Fletch movies with Chevy Chase. This was the new one with John Hamm. I've never seen the original ones. And then I watched Renfield, which I know you have seen already.
Oh, nice.
I hadn't seen it until then. That's
silly nonsense.
I can already tell you those two definitely scored higher because I watched them on an airplane. Not to say that they weren't movies that were good or that I wouldn't enjoy them, but I almost certainly would not have enjoyed them as much if I watched them conventionally. And then the other movies I had seen at least once before was I got to rewatch Guardians of the Galaxy 3 for the first time. I watched 500 Days of Summer, which I've seen like one and a half times before this, but it's been a long time. I know we've talked about that once or twice in the past. And so it was a funny feature on the flight over. I had watched the first two movies, and it was like, I got a screen after it and it says, the flight's not going to be that much longer, but here's some things you can watch that'll be finished before you land. It was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Because it was like flight time was like an hour 35, and here's a couple of movies that are like an hour 30 or less. And so I was like, at that point, I was like, okay, I actually wouldn't mind trying to catch a couple more minutes of sleep here. So let me pick something I've seen before that's like going to be light and easy. And this way, if I fall asleep, I won't feel like I missed anything out Orange County is like 80 minutes long. Perfect, done. I love that movie. I've seen it a million times, like 20 years ago. I've seen it like once or twice since then. And, whatever. So the floor is yours to tell me what you would like me to say on those list of movies I just told you.
I guess of that entire set, what was your favorite thing that you watched?
My favorite? Let's say probably Operation Fortune. That was a fun movie. It's not The Gentleman. It's not as good as The Gentleman, but it's very much... I found it to be closer to that than like the other ones. Like I feel like Snatch and Lock, Stock are darker movies than like The Gentleman was overall, and this one's even lighter than that. But yeah, there's still some stakes or whatever. But I don't know. It's just a fun romp. It's a heist movie. It's a good time.
Yeah, I love that kind of film. That's a good film. That's nice for a plane.
Yeah. Also weird. Diane Kruger, but it was between the movie we're doing tonight and that movie. Twice I've seen Cary Elwes in movies that I didn't expect to see him in recent vintage.
You gotta love the unexpected Cary Elwes.
Yeah, he's barely been in anything I've seen in like 20 years, and then all of a sudden he's in two brand new movies that were, like kind of like big movies. It was he was in this one a lot more than he was in Mission Impossible.
Krugering his way into our hearts.
He kind of leads this crew that is comprised of Jason Statham and Aubrey Plaza, that's her name, and Josh Hartnett, and the one of the guy, the group of the toddlers from The Gentleman, the one who's kind of gets the most screen time, the black guy, the fighter.
Yeah,
he gets a much bigger role in this. He's
cool.
He's part of the crew, and I think there might have been at least one other person as part of it as well. But yeah, I don't know. It was just a fun movie. It was enjoyable. It wasn't great, but it was fun. Very
cool. That's awesome. All right. So I'm going to start with a couple of shows that I watched. That I've entirely watched. So we in a couple of maybe 3 or 4 consecutive nights, I believe. I think it was 3 consecutive nights. We watched the first and only current season of Silo.
It's one that's on my list. I want to get to it.
Highly recommend for you. I think you will really enjoy that show.
It's funny because I saw like the initial review from like the first 3 episodes that my close personal friend Alan Seppenwall wrote. He was not thrilled by it, but I don't think he watched the whole rest of the season, or if he did, he didn't write about it at the time that it came out, because it came out a couple months ago.
Which is interesting.
Because I was hearing a bunch of people saying they liked it, like people like, oh, if you like sci-fi, like this is for you. So I don't know if he went back and watched it or not. I still haven't got a chance to start it, but it's on my list. I do want to see it.
It's just kind of cool because you don't really start to follow the main character until the 3rd or 4th episode.
Okay, interesting.
I feel like the way that it plays out. At least that's my vague recollection of the order. I watched it all in a compressed timeline, so I'm not really sure.
Spoiler alert, but I assume that show and Dune are the reason that some things went down the way they did in this movie.
Wait, sorry, say that again?
I'm trying to be vague, but I said don't like spoiler alert, but I assume that Silo and the Dune movie are part of the reason why plot-wise some of the things happened in Dead Reckoning that happened. I imagine there were scheduling conflicts, and that's why things happened.
Interesting.
That was my theory. That was my theory when what happened, and I was like, oh, that actor or actress must have had a really busy schedule, because I didn't anticipate them leaving the franchise.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, more on that. It took me a minute to piece it all together, but yes,
I was trying to be vague. Agree. Apparently, I was too vague, even for someone who knew all the details.
Yeah, you know what? I wasn't even making the connection between the movie that we're doing today and that show until that. Well, anyway, very good, very like really strong mystery box. Like, what is happening here? But also like so many layers of it, and like which of the mysteries am I most interested in? And they seem to be chasing the one that I'm most interested in currently, like throughout the show. There's a number of things to guess. There's a number of things to theorize, but I don't think until you've watched the whole thing that you can actually feel that you were correct about guessing any of them. Okay. It's the way that they lay out the story and the way that they do some of the jumping around. They purposefully, I feel like, obfuscate what's going on so that you can't you can't feel 100% like you understand until you get to the end. And like by the end, what ends up happening is you're basically opening a box to another mystery of like, okay, but what does that mean now? But in a really good way. It didn't leave me feeling like, well, that wasn't a complete story. It felt like one complete story, and this world is just like, it's going to be even more interesting going forward because they've at least, I know they're doing at least another season. But it's very good. I think you'll enjoy it.
And that was based on a book or a book series, right?
Yes, I believe so.
It's funny. At the beginning, I had less than zero interest in Apple, and now I've gotten to a point where there are a bunch of shows that I want to watch on Apple that I don't have time to get to yet.
Yeah,
and it's not like that's going to get easier for me with football season kicking off in a week.
For sure. But no, so far, I mean, I think there's maybe only one or two things on Apple TV that I abandoned. Like I've watched a little bit and then decided not to. But most things that I watch, it's like 90% solid.
I heard that was like World of Tomorrow or whatever the fuck that movie was, that show was called. I heard that was kind of meh. But everything else, I mean, Severance was incredible. Yeah. I still haven't finished it, but I've really enjoyed For All Mankind. Ted Lasso was obviously a sensation. I'm looking forward to this. I really want to watch the Foundation series. I didn't want to start it until I had finished all the books. So I know that I'm excited to get back into. So, and there's I think there's something else on there too that I was like, oh, I got to get to that, and I haven't gotten to it yet. So,
well, sticking with Apple TV, then the next thing up that we watched all of was The Crowded Room. It is a 10-episode limited series starring Tom Holland.
Oh, okay.
Really, yeah. I've heard, like, in passing, like randomly reading bits of articles and hearing opinions around the internet, and I've heard like negative things towards it. I'm like, not quite sure.
I've heard mixed. I've heard some people liked it, some people had some problems with certain things. I don't know why that show just reminded me, but the other one I couldn't think of was, I still haven't gotten to it yet, the Taron Egerton show that like Ray Liotta.
Yeah, that looks interesting too.
It was like nominated for a bunch of Emmys and stuff like that. I still haven't got a chance to watch that. I've heard really good things about that too.
I'd like to check that out for sure. But I thought this was really well done. There's a very similar. It's like you're trying to figure things out early on, and like trying to understand what's happening, why things are happening, who these people are, and you start to develop some theories. Like I feel like the third or fourth episode, some pretty strong theories about like where it's going. And granted, this is based on an actual thing, so if you know about it, then it's not a mystery to you. I didn't know that
this was based on a true story.
And I intentionally didn't look anything up on it because I like to watch the thing. But I was like piecing it together, starting to understand what's going on. Then getting to the point where I was like, well, okay, we're 3-4 episodes in. What seemed to be the thing that was going to be like a shocking factor is all but confirmed. So like, what are we doing next? And then the show transitions into like understanding like that thing that you have figured out. And I was like, this just went in a whole other direction that is just fantastic. And there was a scene during that. Tom Holland is in the scene. It's a tight shot, and his face is like mostly filling the frame, and he's not saying anything. And I went, "Whoa, Emmy!" Like there was a like, and if you get a chance to watch it, I'll explain why. But I was like, you're a good actor. Like I was like, that was really like, you didn't say anything, and I understood what just happened. It was very impressive, and I just thought that it came together in a really cool way. I thought it was just well executed. It was very enjoyable. We couldn't wait to watch it. We started watching it. We're like, oh wow, this looks like it's been out for a bit. So we were like watching episode after episode after episode. Then realized that it wasn't fully done. And we had caught up, so then we had to watch the next, like the final 2 or 3 episodes we watched as they.
That's actually kind of fun to do it that way, though.
Yeah. At first, I was like, no, but then, then it was good. And I'm going to stick with shows for 2 more pieces, and then I have 4 movies. So, did we talk about The Bear at all last time?
No. So it's funny. I'm going to actually take the wheel for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So before my trip, it's like, okay, between the airplane, if I have some random time where I'm just sitting around, let me crush some shows on my trip. I'm going to download so I can watch on the plane and all that. Let me download The Bear because I haven't watched the first or second season. Let me download the rest of The Witcher. Let me download Righteous Gemstones.
Okay.
Hulu does not let you download all of their shows, only I guess some of them, and that was not one of them. So that idea. I downloaded The Witcher, downloaded Righteous Gemstones. I found out I had an in-seat TV that I could watch anything. I was like, oh, there's a bunch of new movies I haven't seen. Let me take advantage of this because I'm sitting here anyway. Which is why I watch so many movies. I also I think at the end of my the last trip too, I watched 2 episodes of Family Guy because I was wasn't enough time to watch a movie. I was like, okay. When I was over there was one night where I was still up, people were asleep. We didn't have to be up early, and I was up and I was having a drink or whatever. I was like, oh, let me knock out an episode of Righteous Gemstones. Even though I downloaded it on the HBO app, the Max rather, is not authorized to be used on the continent of Europe until sometime in 2024. Because I turned it on and there was a picture of Bugs Bunny going on a vacation in the Hawaiian church. And I was like, sorry, you can't watch anything on here. And I was like, but I don't want to stream anything. Technically, I own
it's on my phone.
That thing.
Yeah.
It's physically here.
Yeah.
Just let me watch. So I watched nothing while I was over there.
Rights management's a bitch.
It is, and I understand the whole thing with licensing and streaming and all that sort of stuff. I get it. But if I've had it downloaded already, fuck you.
You know what? This is where
I even tried going airplane mode, turned off the fucking Wi-Fi. Didn't matter.
You needed to VPN, and you would have been okay.
Yeah, I don't have one though. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would have been impressed if you signed up for a free trial of one of the VPN services and just connected back to the US.
Yeah, although who knows if that would even work while I'm over there? If I had it set up,
it does work.
No, I meant getting one set up while I was over there versus having one.
Oh, that's a good
point. Before I went over. That was my point.
That's a good point.
But yeah, sorry. So anyway, I didn't watch any of that stuff.
Would have worked, but still,
probably
that's annoying.
It was at night and I was already drinking. I wasn't going to try and figure that out.
Well, let me tell you then.
Yes.
The Bear is one of the best television shows I've ever watched.
So, had you already watched the first season, or you watched both seasons?
I watched both seasons.
Okay.
I had no idea what I was getting into when we sat down.
Well, we talked about it before.
I blinked my eyes and we were halfway through the season.
I'm pretty sure we talked about it in our last episode, that I was really looking forward to seeing it. I just couldn't remember what you had said about it. So
so we watched it. It was absolutely incredible. The cast, the writing, it's a perfect storm. Sometimes I feel like you're watching something and you're taken out of the immersion because you're like, how are they getting this so right? That's what kept happening while I watched that show. And then to make it even better.
Oh, did you have interest? I mean, obviously, the stakes are different and the relationship is different, whatever, but you working at the pizzeria for all that time, managing it, did you have a different perspective watching that show than other people might?
I think so.
Okay.
A little bit. There were definitely things that felt like I was in it, when certain things would come up, or the way when tensions would get high, the way people would talk to each other, things like that. Some of the random problems that he had to deal with deliveries, these are things. I was like, this is it's funny. It's also you could tell the research went in. Really went in there.
Were you doing the thing where haha, this is funny, and then it gets too real and it's the
you're we're having fun. yeah, definitely. But what I really loved about it, and I feel the first and second season are starkly different. And the first season, and in hindsight, having watched both of them now, it almost feels like the first season was made as a prelude, after the fact, whereas the second season feels really what the story that they want to tell. But they do a really great job of laying just incredible foundation with the first season that you think if that were how they were going to do things, great. It's fantastic. But then somehow they one-up themselves with the second season where it makes the first season feel complementary to this thing that is the real thing. Yeah. And I was I don't know how they pulled that off, but I'm hoping that you'll understand when you watch it. Like, and
now,
maybe
is it having
explain
anything to do with? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought I had seen something. Is it the second season is more ensemble than the first, right?
Yes, it
is. Is that what a lot of it comes down to, or is there more than that?
No, I think it's more about like the character, the lead character. I feel like spends the entire season coming to grips with maybe understanding himself or like beginning to understanding himself, and then in the second season uses that. And like I think that's where like now it's his story, I feel like. But also we don't have to spend so much time on like building and understanding him anymore, so it allows time to spread to other characters, that some characters will get their own one-off episode. And one of them is maybe the best episode of the series, which is surprising considering the whole thing is so good. That like the one tangential episode that takes one of these characters that normally irks the shit out of me, but like we focus in on him for an entire episode, and by the end of it you're like rooting for him and you love him. It's just like, it's so well done. Is
there something to this with like the Hulu effect? Because that was what we talked about with High Fidelity, right? Wasn't that the same experience where it was like the whole season was her show, and then they get the one episode with the friend, and it's like a lot more time with that character.
That was really good. I forgot about that show. I actually forgot that I had watched that.
I'm still really upset that they canceled that and didn't do a second season.
that was good. But I'm very excited that you get to watch it. I could already rewatch it. I really enjoyed it.
That quick.
Yeah.
I did that with that show Lovesick. I rewatched that.
Yeah, oh my god.
Concurrently. Basically.
Don't look the snake in the face. Oh man. Final thing on shows. Kim and I have been watching Riverdale for years, and we got like, I think it was like 2 seasons ago. It got so off the rails that we just dropped off.
Really?
And then ultimately we were like, you know what? We have nothing else to watch right now. We have the shows downloaded. Let's pick it up again. And we powered through the next 4 episodes.
It ended, right? Didn't
it did end, yeah. And we got back on track, and that season ended up being interesting, and then the next season ended up being actually good. And then the final season happened, and it took place in the 50s. And you're like, are we ever going to get back to the characters in the current day? And 2 episodes before the finale, they're like, look, they explain everything, but they were like, no, we're basically this is how things are now. And I was like, this is crazy. And we actually ended up catching up on the show and watching the finale when it aired, which was cool. Again, okay. Similar situation that we were talking about before. I wasn't prepared for the emotional roller coaster that the final episode was going to take me on. I was like, you can't be doing this to me after all that nonsense that you did in the past 2 seasons. We can't get serious now. Are you that's not allowed. But it was good. It's a long series, and the first 2/3 of it is really is entertaining and good and consistent. Once they leave high school for the first time, it just goes off the rails in very weird ways. They brought it back for the finale, but it's definitely it was done seasons ago. They should have ended it with high school ending, but they didn't.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it, but for how long the show is running, with that being the case, you're probably right. Just from the outside looking.
So now I want to go into a couple movies.
Okay.
All right. I'll go with the most recent one first. I think 2 nights ago we watched Nope.
I still haven't gotten to that one yet.
I really enjoyed it. It is I love when you're watching a movie and you kind of you get lost in it for a minute, and it can be bizarre or wacky or off the wall. This movie is all of those things. And when the movie ends, you're like, man, I just went on a really entertaining ride. That was fun. It was weird and just so out there, and sometimes creepy and sometimes really funny, but you were so whatever it is, an hour and a half passes by and you're just like, wow, I was really into that. And it's really well done. I was worried after Us, because that was the second one, right? I was I didn't, that one didn't quite land for me. It was fine.
It was a movie I wanted to like more than I actually did.
Yeah, but like Get Out was like incredible.
Yeah.
And then, so it's a Get Out, Nope, Us. That would be the ranking order. But Nope it's a very different kind of movie than Get Out. It's less of that like cerebral like twist. Like it's less of, there's like weird stuff going on, but for some reason the subject matter makes it a little bit more fun and fantastical than Get Out. Where that Get Out I feel like leans a little bit more in the direction of horror.
Yeah. Okay.
But it was good. It was a very entertaining watch. And like there's like this like very, I know that there's probably a deeper meaning to it that I haven't thought of, like dug into myself and like to think about, but there's like this very interesting subplot and story that goes on that they like reflect on, like this alternate, like this piece of history within that world that they keep going back to. And it's so outlandish. And I was like, it's you'll have to watch it. And
it's definitely one that I would like to get to. I just haven't yet.
I did get to watch the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh, okay.
That was fun. It was very entertaining. I'm sure I feel like we could do that at some point too.
I think, is it finally on some streaming? I'll rewatch it.
I watched it on Prime, I think.
Okay. Because I still haven't gotten a chance because it came out a week or 2 weeks before I left, but I didn't get to see Barbie or Oppenheimer yet.
Neither have I, which is a travesty.
It is.
But now I'm debating getting a new television for the new living room and updating the sound system with the new couch and maybe watching Oppenheimer there once it comes out, because I don't know that I'm actually going to have, like, we'll see if there's showings still once we have the chance to go. But now there's 3 movies that I got into that were just a treat. I went on a 90s romp and Kim and I watched all these movies together, but we watched A Few Good Men.
Fantastic.
I had never seen it before.
Oh, really? I watched it for the first time probably like 5 years ago, and I've seen
an excellent movie.
I've seen it in parts a couple times since then, but it's a very good movie, but really that last, like, whatever it is, 45 minutes is like, transcendent.
Oh, I really enjoyed my time. I kept pausing it and being like, this is really good. And then I would play. I just like really enjoyed my time with it. And that's another one. I would happily watch that again, like right now. Like it was the performances are just wonderful.
It was on a few weeks ago, and it was like right before, it was like, Sunday night, and like we had been watching something or whatever, and it was like, just put something on. And it was like literally like 2 minutes before the trial was about to start. It was like, oh, couldn't be better time to put this on.
In sticking with Tom Cruise, we also watched The Firm.
That is one of my favorite books of all time. The movie is not a great adaptation. It's a good movie, but the ending is in some ways so different than it was in the book that has always been a little hard for me to get past.
Sure.
I think I've more or less got past it at this point because enough of it is close enough. But I mean, it's a good movie.
I was going to say it was a
fantastic book. I love the book.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say the movie is just fine, and it's not bad, but it's just fine, and like the execution's a little clunky at times, but it's I don't know. It's got there's something about that '90s movie that is so good.
The whole chase sequence thing is interesting for the movie, but like it's not like at all really what happens or like the most important part of the ending of the book. There's a lot more into how he tricks all of them to implicate themselves that is way more important and really interesting on the page. Maybe it wouldn't have been as interesting on the screen. I don't know, but that's one of my favorite. There was, I've told you, right? Like I'll read a book and then I'll read like quote unquote like everything from that author. And so I read probably like 10 Grisham novels, like back to back. And that was like the second or third of them that I had read. So I think I the first one I've read, I think my dad just picked up like one of like the books like at the airport once, not like in the top 5 or 6 of his most popular or famous books. And I read it. I was like, oh, that was good. I like that. And then like I read A Time to Kill, and then I read Runaway Jury, and then I read The Firm, and then I read The Pelican Brief, and then I read The Rainmaker, and so I was like, all of a sudden I've read like 8 of his books, and it's like all of them were great, and like The Firm may have been my favorite one of them.
Oh, nice. Okay. I would like to hear more about the differences. But the 2 things on The Firm first. One, very much did not expect to be the cameos of Saw and Hank Schrader. Didn't see that coming.
Sorry, you said Saw, and I thought, what's his name? Saw Gerrera. I was thinking, what's his name? Why can't I think of his name?
Forrest Whitaker?
Forrest Whitaker, yeah. Who's a very different person than the guy from the Saw movie.
Yes.
Yes. And not only the guy from Saw, but doesn't he have long hair in that?
Yeah. Long platinum hair.
Long platinum blonde hair, because he's playing like the Norseman or whatever. Like, wasn't that like the name of the character?
I don't even know what the character's
name
was.
The Swede or the Norwegian, or it's something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's a random one. Like, yeah, him and Dean Norris, the 2 of them playing these like thug henchmen.
That going by surprise. Now, a bit of trivia: is this the only movie with Chekhov's gymnastics?
I forgot that there was a Chekhov's gymnastics. It's been a while since I've seen the movie.
So bizarre. I was like, wait, so there's a scene in the movie, for those of you who haven't seen it, not a spoiler, but Tom Cruise is walking down the street with one of his lawyer buddies, and their wives are talking and walking together nearby, and there's this little kid who's doing gymnastics on the street, like panhandling or busking, doing gymnastics on the street.
Busking.
And he does a bunch of flips in one direction, and he's about to go in the other direction, and out of nowhere, and I mean nowhere, Tom Cruise follows the exact same routine and does these flips and cartwheels down the street. And I went, what in the world just happened? That's going to come into play later, isn't it? That was the exact thought process. I went on this like weird curve, and then sure enough,
no, that's fair.
At the very end during the chase sequence, it was the way that he got out of it.
It's true. In retrospect, fantastic cast, right? Because okay, it's Tom Cruise, it's Gene Hackman, but like, yeah, the guy from Saw and Dean Norris like playing like smaller roles. You've got
the Buse.
Yeah, Gary Busey, and what's her name? His secretary. Wasn't she the one from? Wasn't she the one from the Batman Superman movie? The senator or whatever. Wasn't that her, or is it someone else?
The Batman Superman movie.
Yeah.
It is her. It is her.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, I can't think of her name.
I know what you're talking
Her
about.
most famous actual role is probably. She was the voice of the mother in The Incredibles. I totally forget her name, but Jeannie Triplehorn's Tom Cruise's wife, and I forget the name of the guy who's like the older, like the partner at the company, and Wilford Brimley playing the menacing. Yeah. I wouldn't have ever pegged him for playing a menacing security like consultant guy like that. He was such a piece of shit in that.
But like, who was in the driver's seat during that performance though? Him or his mustache?
Yes.
it should be like security, like head of security in the credits rolling, like head of security over Brimley's mustache.
Or at least can we get like in like the crew, like, you know, Mr. Brimley's assistant, Mr. Brimley's mustache assistant.
Waxer. Yeah.
I think his brother, was that David Strathairn too? Like, he's like a really good actor.
Yeah, I don't know his name, but yes, he was really good.
It's a weirdly good cast for like all of those Grisham movies that they made have really good casts, actually.
Well, funny you should say that, because the third and final movie of this 90s series that I watched was The Rainmaker.
Okay.
Which was
that the first time you saw that? That's one of the lower key ones. I watched that not too long ago, actually.
Probably The Rainmaker was excellent.
Probably 2 or 3 weeks before I went to Italy, I watched that. I've seen it before, but that's a good movie. I like that.
Very heavy.
It's not as like sensationally good as like A Time to Kill or The Firm or Runaway Jury. Like, those are spectacular books,
Mhm.
The Rainmaker is a little lesser than those, but I really enjoyed it. Is yes, as sad as it can be. That's a really good story, and that movie was a really good adaptation, actually.
So it's really funny. We watched The Rainmaker first, and we watched The Firm like a few days later. Now, this wasn't, and like we weren't intentionally watching Grisham movies. We didn't actually know. My dad had brought both of those movies up in the past week because
as soon as you started watching it, you had to realize it was
the music started. I was like, did I put the wrong movie on? Did I put? It's the same. These are the same sounds from that movie we watched a few days ago. And then it was like a lawyer in Memphis. I was like, is this The Rainmaker 2? What is happening right now?
every one of his books are about either a lawyer in Memphis or a lawyer in Oxford, Mississippi. Sorry, like 80% of his book. Well, because he went to Ole Miss. He was a lawyer who went to Ole Miss. So that's all his books are that. So if you like those two, you should. And if you've never seen it, you should watch A Time to Kill because that's really good too. And that
is Morgan Freeman in that. Or am I thinking about something else?
No, that's Matthew McConaughey is the lead. It's Sandra Bullock, Donald Sutherland, Kiefer Sutherland, Samuel Jackson.
Time to Kill. Hang on a sec. I'm going to add it to my letterbox.
If you like the other Grisham movies, you definitely should see that one. That's probably the best of the movies. It's probably the best of the books, too. I'm not saying...
I want the Joel Schumacher one from 1996, or do I want the 1955 one?
Not the 1955 one. The book came out in 1990. So, the 96 one with Matthew McConaughey is the one you want.
All right. Adding it to the list.
Yeah, that one is probably the best book and the best movie. I'm not to say my favorite, but the objectively best one of them. That's probably it.
Cool, sweet.
That one's also really heavy, but it's it's really really good. I mean, all of them have their kind of darkness to them. You don't have really good courtroom drama if there isn't something terrible that's happened. The Rainmaker is really good. The interplay between Damon and Danny DeVito is really good. It's a really odd, unexpected pairing. Mm-hmm. But the two of them are really good together. I actually really like Danny Glover as the judge for some reason.
He's great.
I love how he plays that character. It's such an interesting character. We're so used to judges that are total pricks or that really lean one side or the other. And he is hard-nosed, but he's very fair.
Yeah.
Right? Which is because I always think of obviously the courtroom drama movie that I've seen the most of is My Cousin Vinny. And he's so totally slanted to the prosecution side in that. Or even like you said, you just watched what is it with you in the courtroom dramas? You watched A Few Good Men. Mm-hmm. And he's the judge is actually pretty fair for the most part, but he's really kind of a prick. I mean, It's just he's really standing on the ceremony, which judges are already going to do that to begin with, and then a military judge, and when you consider the severity of what the trial is about, it is somewhat understanding. I like Danny Glover because he's got a personality, his character, but he's not over the top. He is very fair to both sides, the prosecution and the defense. Well, actually, sorry, it's not the prosecution. It's the plaintiff and the defense in this case. I don't know. It's an interesting character. It's an interesting performance. I actually really liked that.
It really is. It's a really strong performance, and like you said, at no point do you question his integrity because he is right. But
as opposed to the first judge in the movie, who is very
clearly, which was that was bad. Yeah. But what I think one of my favorite lines of one of my favorite exchanges, and honestly, maybe the best part about it is it kind of is subtle and then doesn't get resolved. He hints to Matt Damon's character that there is something that he can object to. It's just not that. Yes. But he doesn't get it, which I think is funny.
Because he's trying to not only be fair to all sides of the trial, but he's also trying to kind of sort of help mentor him, but realize he can't interfere. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's I can give you a hint that there's something here that you're missing. I just can't tell you what it is because that will be played as I'm siding with you. Right. It's a really interesting kind of a nuanced performance, which is unexpected. I feel like from that.
It's really strong. I love that.
That movie might be my favorite Jon Voight performance. He's such an asshole in that.
He is,
but it's good. Like, it's a really good role. Unexpected turn from what's his name at the end, the guy from Jaws. I can't think of his name.
Oh,
the president of the company.
That didn't connect for me until you just said that, but yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, I mean, he was obviously, 30 years older, but like,
sure,
not 30, 20 years older, but yeah, I just can't think of his name right now. But it was an unexpected cameo from him in that whole thing. I don't know why the way that Jon Voight does not have a Southern accent, but his Southern accent kind of cracks me up in the movie. It's not a bad one. It's just it's entertaining to me.
It's like halfway there.
Yeah, but there's a particular line, like just the disdain and the like so over itness of how he delivers it. Where, Your Honor, objection, stolen work papers. We've already covered this.
Yeah.
That line, for some reason, like lives rent free in my head. I'll always remember that. It's not an important line, really. It's not something that's like good for reference, but like that line just is like stuck in my head for some reason.
That's so funny. Oh man, I've really enjoyed my time with all the movies and stuff that I've watched over the past few weeks. But those movies have been a nice escape, and obviously we'll get into one more that I've watched. Actually, before we do though. I threw on the first Mission Impossible. I didn't get through all of it because I've seen it a bunch of times and I was just putting it on while I was doing stuff. I got sucked into the first like 30 minutes though, because it's like really well done. The intro of that movie. And the thing that really caught me by surprise.
The way Emilio Estevez's death stuck with me for a long time. The first
same. But the way Jon Voight, when he gets when the flight attendant comes to him and asks him if he wants to watch a movie, and he says no, and then she like says something else, and he's like, "Well, how about you pick one for me?" Because he realizes what's going on, and she hands him the tape, and he listens to the mission, and it says the tape's going to self-destruct in 5 seconds, right? It is so subtle and so like so natural and casual the way that he does it, but the way that the tape's going to self-destruct in 5 minutes. The way he just like slowly reaches into his pocket and grabs a lighter and he lights a cigarette and the smoke puffs from the tape. And I was like, wow, like I never know, like I just never like was really watching, I don't think. And like I just saw how like perfectly timed that scene is. And I was like, you really like, good on you, director. Like, because like that is like, that was really
it's Brian De Palma. He's a fantastic director.
Yeah. It's just like, I don't know, that scene, I was just like, I couldn't stop thinking about it for the next week. I was like, that was just like, there was such attention to detail in that one little moment that makes it so realistic. Yeah. And like, so it makes his character look so suave.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, that was cool.
Speaking of Brian De Palma, I watched like half an hour of The Untouchables the other night. So, I mean, he gets it right. I still need to dig into more of his like other catalog. I know I've been missing out probably, but it's funny. I watched, before seeing Dead Reckoning, I rewatched Rogue Nation and Fallout like the week or two before. So actually,
nice.
Hopefully I'll actually remember most of this movie and don't blur it with those, because I did watch them in the 2 weeks preceding it.
I'll try to help with that. But with that being said, I think it's time for our flick of the week. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Released in 2023, directed by Christopher McQuarrie, 164-minute runtime. Your IMDb... No, actually, I'm now using Letterboxd during these calls. So your Letterboxd... I mean, they're all sourced from the same place, but your Letterboxd synopsis. Ethan Hunt and his IMF team embark on their most dangerous mission yet, to track down a terrifying new weapon that threatens all of humanity before it falls into the wrong hands. With control of the future and the fate of the world at stake, the dark forces from Ethan's past closing in, a deadly race around the globe begins. Confronted by a mysterious, all-powerful enemy, Ethan is forced to consider that nothing can matter more than his mission, not even the lives of those he cares about most. I would argue that that is completely contrary to what his take is.
That's what the press thing is. I'm going to read you the IMDb one because this is much more succinct and accurate. Ethan Hunt and his IMF team must track down a dangerous weapon before it falls in the wrong hands.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's better. I was gonna say that's a pretty sure a reoccurring point in this movie was that I will not let my friends die. You want to? Well, best laid plans and all that. What do you want to give us your Toot-length?
Impossible, to fully grade until part 2 arrives, much in the same way Infinity War was, but a solid and action-packed, if long, entry to the canon with surprising emotional beats. 7 out of 10.
Cool. I actually completely forgot. It used to have impossible an exclamation point after impossible, right? Some of the previous films?
I don't believe so.
I thought it did. Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
They've all had colons.
There's mission : impossible.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a weird place for a colon. I mean, I get it.
Well, it's like as if you're reading it off.
They used to not have subtitles and all that, too.
Yes.
But, yeah, that's fair. All right. While it stumbles out of the gate with clunky exposition, Dead Reckoning ultimately finds its footing and fabulously sticks the landing. A purely entertaining trip to the cinema, 8 out of 10.
Okay.
I had a lot of fun watching this movie. I definitely was concerned when the movie started off. I was like, we're talking an awful lot right now about what this thing is. And then I was like, okay, cool, we're getting into it.
This is
we're saying the same thing again an awful lot right now. Why are we doing Lord of the Rings beginning? We're doing the Dune thing.
This is definitely the most exposition heavy beginning to one of their movies. Because they've always relied on exposition for portions of the movies. And it's fine. Mm-hmm. Like, anytime you're going to do, like, we're going to have a big, long chase scene for 20 minutes, you need to pause and let everyone know, hey, remember, this is what we're actually doing.
Right.
That was a lot of fun, but, like, we got to recenter you to the plot because you probably forgot what the movie's about at this point.
Tighten it up. But I think the thing that took me by surprise, though, was I felt that within the first 5 minutes of explanation, I was like, okay, I'm on board. I see where we're going. And then they kept, like, going, and I was like, wait, am I not getting this? Is this more complicated than I think it is? But it's not more complicated. They just didn't think you were listening the first time. I think that's what...
I also wondered if it was an editing thing where, like, they shot a lot of movie and, like, in the script, those scenes were separated by more time.
I have a theory that the entire opening with the submarine might not have been the original opening.
Probably not.
And the exposition that follows within the room, when they're in the room, like all of the powers that be, the Carrie Elways and whatnot, I think that was probably the original explanation of things because it literally they said the same things. Yes. And I was like, I don't understand what's happening right now.
You want to know a fun detail about me watching this movie?
Sure.
That whole scene in the room, I was playing a game. Now, you know those games, like we have like the name version, right? Is it Dylan McDermott or is it Dermot Mulroney?
Yeah.
Right? And you have other games like, the game that I've played for a long time. Is that Julianne Moore or is it Jodie Foster? I don't remember. Which one is it? They both played Clarice Starling.
Oh man!
So during that scene, I played a fun game. I played a fun game of, is this Carrie Elways or is it Matthew Modine?
You're no longer like watching the movie.
Yes, I was like, God damn it! It's one of those two guys, and I can't remember which one this is. And the entire problem is, I don't remember ever seeing Carrie Elways wear glasses before in his life. And the last time that I saw Matthew Modine, he was wearing glasses in The Dark Knight Rises. So, to me, they looked exactly alike in that scene. By the end of the scene, I had settled upon, this is definitely Carrie Elways. But for like 5 minutes, I could not tell which one it was.
That's amazing. I'm pulling up a picture of him just so that I can, I want to pull back.
You got to picture up Carrie Elways from Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, and you need to pick up Matthew Modine from The Dark Knight Rises. And I'm not totally crazy, right? Like, they look enough alike that if you haven't seen either of them...
honestly, it's really funny, especially in The Dark Knight Rises.
Yes.
Wow. That is... Who is this?
Because I haven't seen either of them in a movie in at least 10 years, so like it's not like it's fresh in my mind.
Right.
Carrie Elways, in my mind's eye, is from like 1992. So like he doesn't look the same. It's 30 years later.
Yeah, he looks pretty close.
Sure, but like again, I don't recall him ever wearing glasses. Like when he's
the Dread Pirate Roberts,
he wore a face mask, not glasses.
Yeah.
As Robin Hood, he's not wearing glasses. As the guy with the claw, he's not wearing glasses.
Right.
Those movies are all within like a 5-year span. That's what he looks like in my mind's eye, not what he looked like in this movie, which mainly the only difference is that his face is slightly fuller and wore glasses. That being said, I was not confused. I definitely knew it was not Matthew Modine in Operation Fortune.
So, all right. So we get the opening sequence with the submarine and very, very intense, really well done sequence, right?
Yes.
Like
I love like sub shit. Like we've talked about it a million times. Like I love reading like the Tom Clancy novels.
Italian subs, roast beef subs.
You know, I had a couple of really good sandwiches for either breakfast or lunch in Italy. Like we talked about it like very briefly, but there was this cafe around the corner where we were staying in Venezia where like I had like a cold cut sandwich for breakfast and it was delightful. But anyway, no, like all the Tom Clancy, Jack Ryan, there was a bunch of those books in the Cold War with the subs, and like that is extremely my shit. So watching a scene like this, seeing the modern day technological version of what that was represented on the page and how pulse pounding that could be, where there is 2 subs hunting each other actively, firing torpedoes at each other across like 20 pages, like that is sustained suspense and tension, and watching that happen frenetically on screen, like that's what get me. It was
really like I definitely like I was squeezing the armrest.
Yeah,
I was like, what's gonna happen? And then I anticipated what was gonna happen, and sure enough, I was right. But and this is part of the reason why I think that sequence was meant for later, or for another point, or maybe even from some like break in the middle of the movie. It was taking me a while to wrap my head around it. The entity is on the submarine, right?
I think so.
Okay. Like I couldn't, that's how I understood it. And I understood that they knew they had it and were using it, but it attacked itself to get free of them.
They underestimated its ability to break free of whatever shackles they had on it.
Right. But they knew they had it.
Yes, they did it. They used it on purpose. It was meant to be a single use. And instead it breaks free and it becomes sentient, and thus
they were testing that they could get close to every single like strong world power in the water, right? Like and go like right by without being noticed.
Yeah.
And then ultimately they were like, "Oh, this like it's detecting this ball." Okay, cool. All right. So I was making sure that I got that right, and that okay, cool. And then I started to second guess it because they tried to re-explain what it was, and I was like, wait a second, did I not get that? Was
in retrospect, what I wonder is, did they plan to open with the Carrie Elways scene, and then somewhere down the line flash back to what actually happened, and then that scene was shot to be a flashback, and they decided, no, this is much better as a cold open.
I do think that that's what it was, because if you play out the opening the Carrie Elways stuff as the opening sequence, that would have also been really cool, but it wouldn't have had quite the punch.
And also,
the Mission Impossible thing.
They always open with some sort of action scene. So
yeah, but he comes in and blows up. You know, like
right? But like it would have been the first time they open in like meetings, not in the midst of something.
Yeah, that's true. I do feel like that it was something along those lines, and I feel like that's why the opening was disconnected. But like I said, I was getting worried after that. Those 2 sequences like went back to back, and then the third sequence was trying to find Rebecca Ferguson's character, and I was like, what are we doing right now? Like we are bouncing all over the place, and I couldn't keep track of what was happening. And then
because between these 2 movies, it's going to be like 6 hours worth of movie.
Yeah,
and they probably shot 7 hours worth of movie.
Yeah.
So there is bloat here.
Yeah.
But at the same token, and like obviously, like I said, my recollection's a smidge hazy. What would they really cut? Like you could.
I don't think they needed to cut any of it. I do think that they needed to reorganize those sequences.
Mostly at the beginning, like you said. But you could always make an argument when a movie's this long to tighten a scene or two. But they couldn't really cut any of these sequences.
I almost would have I would have been like, yo, just push it to over 3 hours a little bit and just hide some of these seams. Because they were too
I do think that largely after he saves her, it's... Was that scene before or after the Carrie Elway scene?
After, because they send him after her in the...
Oh, yeah, that's right. What's his name? The guy from the first movie. Yeah. What the hell's his name again?
Something with a K? Hang on. I think I have the call sheet open. Call sheet, new app? Pretty great.
Kittredge, yep.
Oh my god. How are you going to get out of here? Everybody's looking for you. And when he puts on Kittredge's face, I was like, that was such a pro move.
and the best part about it is he's like, yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, you got me.
but after he finds her, I don't feel like there's really any issues with the seams or pacing.
The movie, it just, that's what I was saying. Like, it stumbles out of the gate. But it's a good 20, 30 minutes of movie.
Yeah.
And then it is smooth sailing the rest of the way. And there's no more confusion for me. Like, I'm just in it and I'm watching it and I'm having fun, which is great. I will say it was really funny. So it was just me and my dad at the movie theater. We went to a 9:50 showing, and it's a close to 3-hour movie. Yeah, it was late, but that was the only available time because it was only playing 2 slots, and one is in the middle of the day, and I can't do that.
We had a similar thing because I went to see it. I think I just saw it with my dad and my mom, and we were doing the same thing. We looked at 4 different movie theaters because there was one that was 10 minutes away, one that's 20 minutes away, and then there's 2 that are 35 minutes away. And we were trying to find what is the way that we can go see this movie and not be home at 12:30. What is the way that we can see it and be in the theater, watch it, be home, and it's not already the next day.
I think I was finally settled in bed at 1:45.
Yeah, that sounds right. No, we finally found one, that we're okay, this is gonna work. We'll be able to eat dinner, quick, go, boom, done, whatever.
Yeah.
It's...
So he goes to get Rebecca Ferguson, who I have a hard time with. I don't know what her character name is. I will
Ilsa
never
Faust.
forget. Okay, great. I will never forget. What was it like? I don't know which number movie it was, but being wait a second, those are 2 different people. There were the 2 female leads in the movie that they looked so similar to me.
In this one?
No. Oh. I think it was 3 movies ago or 4 movies ago. I don't even remember. But I think it was her and I can't remember the other actress's name. Anyway,
she doesn't look like anyone else in the movies, does she?
I will find it.
This is the 3rd movie she was in, so it was either Rogue Nation or Fallout.
Must have been. I think it was the first, maybe the first of those 3.
Rogue Nation.
I thought it was the 3rd movie, but that was a while ago. So
no, she's only been in these 2.
Yeah. Anyway, regardless, this was fine this time.
You didn't think she looked like Michelle Monaghan, did you?
Maybe
she was the one from the 3rd one that was his wife.
Yeah. I think there was a
Fallout. They're both in the movie.
A length of time where I was like, wait, which character is this? Because I was just seeing the same person. It's my Dylan McDermott, Dermot Mulroney. It's
you know what it is? So the shape of their face is not remotely the same. The shape of their eyes is similar, I think. And they both are brunettes.
Yes.
But the shape of their face is not similar.
They were wearing masks?
No.
Was one of them wearing a mask?
No, I don't believe so.
All right. I have to rewatch the Mission Impossible movies anyway. I'll let you know if I come across it again. Ultimately, what came down the point about being, I was there with my dad. There was only 2 other people in the movie theater. Let me point this out. You know what movie theater I go to. It is assigned seating.
Yep.
Right. I generally pick 2 seats on the end. I feel a little bit, for whatever reason, while I would love to be dead center, I feel a little bit more just safe and comfortable on the end. It's just
for some things I like that, but for a movie, I'd rather be closer to the middle. Like, well, it depends. It depends on what movie and what the situation is. If it's empty, I'd rather be in the middle. If it's full, I'd rather be on the end. Mm-hmm. But yes, I'm very familiar with the movie theater because we sat in the middle of another empty theater and had one guy sitting between the two, behind the two of us.
Right. So here's my point: is we were like, we weren't dead center like row wise, and we were on the end. And there's only two other people in the movie theater, and they were in our fucking row. And I bought the tickets first because there were no seats taken when I bought the tickets. But buy even one row up.
Yeah, why not be one row up or one row back? Dead center?
What is? I just feel like I know it's a silly thing to get hung up on those. What is wrong with you? Anyway, I feel like my dad takes that as a pass to be like he could just talk during the movie now because there's nobody there, which was funny sometimes, and other times it was like shh. And but it was the scene he goes to save Rebecca Ferguson's character. Or meet her before the other people get to her, whatever it is, in the sandstorm. Which really, all that scene was about was like, let's do a sandstorm scene. Like that's all it was. Yeah, but then she gets shot, or seemingly gets shot, and she falls over, and he goes, "Nah, they're not gonna kill her, are they?" And I was like, Dad. I was like, first off, I was like, shh. I was like, no. I was like, she's not dead. They wouldn't do that this early in the movie. They wouldn't do. I don't think they would do that at all, right?
Crucial context.
Yeah, they wouldn't do that this early in the movie. And also, when a main character dies, it happens on screen. Like she was just dead when they panned back over. She's not dead. And I was like, it's fine. And then she just gets back up. Color me surprised when an hour and 15 minutes later she was stabbed in the heart, and I was like, oh.
Also, I cannot 100% confirm, but I'm pretty sure I walked over that bridge in Venezia where she got killed.
I was gonna say the same thing, but a lot of them do look very, very similar.
No, I know. I walked over a lot of bridges, and I was like, no, this wasn't it. No, this wasn't it. This one might have been it.
Yeah. That was that fight. I mean, I know we're jumping around a bit, but that fight sequence on the bridge was pretty cool.
It was.
The sword. And
sorry, I just
the sword and knife.
You brought it up, and I was thinking about it earlier, and I was like, I'll save it till the actual movie talk in case someone listens to the episode and then pauses here because they haven't watched the movie yet or whatever. I didn't want to say it before. So, by the way, what we were saying earlier, since we're even this and we're talking about the fact that she got killed off, when she died, I was like, oh wow, I guess Dune and Silo really filled up her schedule. She needed to get out of this series.
Seriously. Oh, man. They had to superimpose a mustache on her. Sorry. Such a stupid thing. Anyway, getting back, but like we were talking about, though, after that sequence, we're back on track. He gets her to run away. Is that what?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we're like, okay, cool. I think my favorite character from the Mission Impossible series is Benji.
I mean, historically, my favorite character has always been Luther, but I've grown to love Benji as well.
Yeah, well, but Luther's I feel like has always been there, right?
With the exception of the fact that he was only in the final 90 seconds of Ghost Protocol, yes.
Yeah, and always loved Luther, but yeah, Benji. I just love Simon Pegg.
Oh yeah.
But his character and his I feel like he is a more accurate representation of how most of us would react if we were in the scenario. He's absolutely terrified all the time, and I think that's great.
Yet continues to insist that he should be a field agent.
Yeah, it's so funny
because he's not actually very good as a field agent. He's kind of a liability as a field agent. Mm-hmm. He is better as the man in the chair, but
yeah,
he has the training and he wants to be there for Ethan, and so
yep.
I applaud his loyalty, but he's not actually very good. He's gotten captured
mm-hmm.
a couple of times, and sometimes Ethan has to divert to go save him so he doesn't die, and you have to pick the lesser assignments for him to do, and sometimes maybe there's got to be someone better to do that job.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just so funny. One thing that I really appreciated about this, so like artificial intelligence as the evil of like a movie plot has been done to death, and it's fine. Like I enjoy plenty of movies with AI issues and AI rising up and all this stuff. Great stuff. There is some really awesome material out there. I found that this was the first thing that like I feel like really like lingered in this early stage of it though, which I think I appreciated more. Like,
what do you mean?
It's like kind of its first takeover happened on screen, presumably in the submarine, and we're watching it like learn and grow and adapt in the shadows throughout the movie. Like, and it's like this imposing entity that is super nebulous and like you don't quite understand it or where it is or what it can do, but like you're like it's learning and it's growing and it's getting more powerful, and you're seeing that happen versus like something like the Terminator, like it's already there. Yeah. Or we'll hint at it, but then we're gonna like really just like blast through the next like phases of evolution and skip right to where it's like super like dangerous.
Yeah, watching the evolution of that character, because it's like it's its own character essentially, right? Is interesting. I also appreciated the ways in which they tried to show how it changed the game, and we're pretty consistent, not 100%, but we're pretty consistent with it. Where once they learn, not only can it just affect different technology in different ways, like the fact that it can literally turn their own best weapons against it, the fact that it can fake their voices, the thing that they've used against enemies all these times, and now it's being used against them in a way that they really should have learned the lesson the first time, and yet still kind of fall for it a couple more times after that. Which I guess is also meant to show like the idea of human error or whatever, but
sure.
And also the idea that they had to now go to low grade tech, like which is like tying a hand behind their back, like that whole thing was a cool way to do all this. And it's not like in a lesser movie, I would have assumed that was done so that they could save money on the budget. That's certainly not a concern here,
right?
So I actually appreciated that they wrote that into the story that way to give them some hurdles to jump over. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, no, it was cool. But yeah, like you said, you think they'd learned their lesson even before learning. Like it does feel like something that Luther and Benji would have thought about before even powering on a computer for this mission, right? Like I feel like it would have crossed their mind to be a curious. Like, and then like when they were all shocked that the machine like blew up that fabricates faces, I'm like, are we that surprised?
I gotta be honest, I was a little surprised that one, because you could have convinced me that wasn't connected to a network, that it was a local.
Sure.
You know.
You could have, but they didn't do anything to say that. And it blew up, and I was like, well, okay. If you're not going to explain that it shouldn't have happened, then here's why it happened. Let me explain.
Well, but the idea of it cloning like their voices and like being able to like misdirect them and all that, like
that was cool.
Yeah,
that was really, really cool. The one thing that I was talking about, like, you know, they keep getting sidelined by this machine. The thing that really, really surprised me didn't turn out to be an issue at all was Benji getting into a self-driving car.
Oh yeah, and
without a second thought, it gets into the passenger seat instead, so that he can work on his also internet-connected computer. Right. I was like, "What is?" I was like, this is a mistake. Like, Benji's gonna die now, like, because that's what we're doing here. But no, he was fine.
Now, what if Luther was driving it on that thing from Tomorrow Never Dies, where he's looking at the the computer screen driving the car?
Well, we don't know where Luther was, so it could very well be that's
he's working very hard on an air-gapped computer somewhere.
I feel like Luther figured it out, and he's just getting like some scuba gear, and he's like, "Look, I can't tell you because it can hear us. I'm just gonna go get it."
The next movie starts with him just like surfacing out of the water, and they're like, "Luther, where did you come from?" And he's just like pulling off the scuba guy. "Hey, I got the thing, guys."
Yes. Oh man. Oh, that's cool. I did another sequence that I really appreciated. What's her? Haley Atwell? Is that her name? What's the character's name?
That I couldn't tell you.
All right. Well, Haley Atwell's character
Hang on,
coming
give me
into the
1
fold.
second.
I liked Grace. I liked that character. Like, and the it's like this like whole curveball effect, right? Like they have this plan. They're doing this thing. The guy gets pickpocketed, and it's like, oh no, like a wrench has been thrown into the gears. But like the fact that the whole thing is orchestrated by the machine is really cool, and with their understanding of that later on. But what I really loved was how it ended up with like Grace and Luther and Benji and Ethan all in that room, and like we're offering you the choice, like the choice that we all were given, and like I loved that little peek into their background. That like
it was very Night's Watch.
It was awesome. It was so cool, and then also like just this weird frenemy thing that they've got going on with Kittredge. Like yes. It's like there's like a certain level of like you're bad, but you also have the information, and I mean maybe much worse than we thought. Who like it's hard to say. I mean, granted, they're just one of the many world powers that are going after this machine. It's still very confusing. Whose machine is it? Who made it? Did we make it? Did the U.S. make it? Or did the Russians make it?
I thought the whole thing was that the U.S. made it, or someone, whatever, like made it and used it against the Russians, and then it backfired on everyone.
Okay,
but I could be wrong.
Yeah,
I'd have to see it again to be.
That's kind of how I understood it, especially when it seems like Carrie always knows where it is.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Well, not only that, but knows the backstory as to like how it got on the ship and what went wrong, because he's the only one who knows that.
Yeah, you're the only one. I'm the only one. Slice. I was like, wow.
Well, that's one of those ones that's really tough, right? That question. What does the other person want? Do they want to know that there's someone out there and killing you is the wrong thing, or do they want to know that you're the only person they can trust and go through it?
Right.
Like, it's a hell of a gambit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the Kittredge thing is interesting. It was interesting bringing him back into the fold, how much screen time he had. I was a little surprised, actually. I didn't think he'd be that important to the movie. I liked that, even though he's hunting them down, because he brought Ethan in, but also it's such a weird like sequence that he like sets up there, right? Where he brings him in, but is also actively telling him, like, I'm hunting you down. Like, it doesn't... Mm-hmm. It's odd. But the idea of him respecting, like you said, the whole thing about telling her about the recruitment thing, the idea of him respecting that and trying to make use of her rather than just be like, no, I'm just arresting you and we'll figure it out later. You know, like, that's an interesting way to do all of that. I think that's kind of cool. I just had some... Oh, sorry. The one thing I did think was kind of an odd crutch to fall back on. I mean, obviously for the purposes of this movie, it made some sense, but this is the second time that we've gone outside of the agency to recruit a master thief specifically, because that was the Tandy Newton character in the second one. She's a master thief, right?
Yeah. The master tool for a master thief. A clean slate. Oh, man. There was something with Grace that I wanted to bring up again. I can't remember what it was. There's two more characters I want to touch on. First off, Mantis. And
Mantis.
But I thought that was really cool. The whole concept that like that Ethan spared her so that the bad guy now is like, well, I can't trust you anymore because at some point you're going to have that inkling of doubt, right? Because he saved your life.
And for it to play out exactly that way and her to be like, shit, it played out exactly that way.
And it was getting to the point where I was like, is this just some sort of reanimated cyborg? Like, is this the entity? Like, because it's like, I mean, he's being fed the results of these calculations in real time from his watch, it seems like, which is fine and a good enough explanation. The character's motivations are still very skewed to me. They just kind of like, I don't know, like verbally vomit them at you without showing you.
I still don't understand. Or not understand, but maybe I don't remember. I might have understood it when I watched the movie, and I forgot at this point. Why like the thing between him and Ethan, did we get an explanation as to why?
Why?
We know what, but do we know why?
We don't. Not that I know.
Because the whole thing was like Ethan loved someone, he killed her to torture Ethan, and like he's been haunting his dreams ever since then, and he's back to fuck him over again. But we didn't ever get why, right?
No, I don't believe they explained. What the point was. So that's been confusing, and I'm assuming that maybe we'll get a little bit more deeper into that in this.
I mean, we must, right?
I would hope so.
If we don't, like, that's like flabbergasting.
Yeah. I will say I liked the conversations that they all had around. You kind of have to find out a way of being unexpected, like, because it's already calculated every possibility. And then my mind immediately jumped to Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I was like, I see, like, what, like, they have to do something really bizarre.
Where's
and
the
then
plug?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's funny. My thought process with that was, do you remember in Scott Pilgrim when he's fighting Brandon Routh, who's the vegan with the mental powers, and he's like, "You know, I can read your mind, right?" And he goes, "Yeah," and he's got the whole thing with the 2 coffees. And he stuck the cream into the one of them.
Yeah.
And his whole thing was, yeah, I thought really hard about putting that in that one, but I put it in this one. That explanation makes no sense. And it's the exact same situation as this, right? Like, you just have to think really hard about, like, it's not about anything that we could have done. So we have to do the one thing it doesn't think we could do. And it's like, but no, you just said it thought of all the things, so you're just going to, like, what would I normally do because I'm Ethan Hunt? I'm not going to do that.
But then would it think that, how can I possibly drink out of that glass?
Yeah, and now it's become the Dread Pirate Roberts playing with Vizzini. Yeah, exactly. Inconceivable.
Man. It's so funny. But yeah, when he ultimately, like, what is it? Is it Benji that explains it to him, or Luther? Oh, Luther has that, like, heart to heart with Ethan, right? Like, that you can't kill him.
Yes.
Right. Because, like, and he explained, and the explanation was pretty great, right?
Yeah.
Like that. Ultimately, we've got, like, he's using this guy as a pawn to take everything out that is of a threat to him until the final piece of the puzzle. The last thing that will be of a threat to him is the thing that knows about it. When I say him, I mean the entity, and then have something kill the entity, and then we're good.
Yeah.
Or kill the entity's henchman, and then we're good. And, like, very believable when Ethan looks like he's cracking and he's going to be pushing the knife into his throat, but really just doing that so that he'll never notice that he took the key out of his pocket, which is a great,
ultimate,
really awesome way of doing that, and something that, like, I didn't think of in the moment. And as soon as I realized that he was going to have the key, like, that it was okay, and I was like, oh, like, this totally makes sense, especially with all the sleight of hand, like, heavy-handed sleight of hand that they were doing throughout the movie. They were doing, like, straight-up magic hands multiple times.
Which goes back to the original one, when he does the whole joke with the disc with John Renault, where he literally does the sleight of hand magic trick with the card, the disappearing card, and he pulls it out of her ear. And, you know, so it is that was actually despite how over the top and overt it was, is actually a subtle nod to the original one, which we keep kind of coming back to some of those motifs from the first one, which is kind of cool. But and also it was nice to see, considering the Isai Morales character keeps winning over and over again. He keeps, like, he says, it sounds like he's being haughty and arrogant, but it's because he's backed by the foreknowledge of this AI or whatever, to finally see him, you know, stopped in that and, like, that little bit, like everything he says is gonna happen. It's gonna happen. One of them is gonna die, and you're gonna have to choose. One of them dies. You know, oh, I'm gonna walk out of here with this thing. He walks out of here with this thing. You know, like the every part of it happens all the way, like the whole thing. They're gonna leave me a choice. It's gonna be you, and, like, you know, and it's her, whatever. Like, every part of it he gets right, and then to see the finally, like, the one thing go wrong, the most crucial thing, and it's not like that delivers Ethan certain victory in that point, right? Things are still bad for him, but to see finally one crack in the armor is where you finally can feel like there's a chance they could win somewhere down the line.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
Yeah,
sure. going back, we keep mentioning the first Mission Impossible movie. There is something about this one that very much feels like it ties together like the original style and the new style, and then marries it in a really nice way, where like it has just enough of the camp of the original one, but like also a little bit more higher end as far as like the performances and espionage aspects and like the planning and things go. Like that really resemble the first one, but still in a much more modern execution for like, Fallout and all those. So like I feel like it's the first time that it's really pulling all of the styles together. Yeah. Did you feel that way at all? Like, cause I didn't feel it. The last like 3 Mission Impossible movies I felt were like very much their own thing.
Yeah. Well, they kind of evolved in the same way that the Fast and the Furious franchise did, where it took something that was pretty grounded and became very sensational. Now, I don't think they've totally lost their touch of reality in this series in the way that series did, but like the modernization of the technology has like really set it to some heights that are kind of almost unfathomable. But you got to keep coming back to like, I mean, he's on a dirt bike and he jumps off a cliff and he like does a parachute. Like that's pretty analog. That could have happened 60 years ago. He could have done that, right? And like even to harken back to the original, like right, they have a fight on top of a train in a tunnel. Like it's like, they keep finding ways to nod to that, but not in a way that feels like kitschy and cheap. So like I appreciate those things, and I think that like that the first movie had some darkness and melancholy they wanted to explore a little bit, right? With some of the things going on, like some almost noir aspects to it. But this one had some like legitimate like emotional beats. I mean, they never go like all in on it, but there's him and him and Ilsa like riding gondolas in Venice, and to show how important that their relationship is and all that. And then it's legitimately emotional when she dies, and like you shouldn't really care about any character in this like that, but it's like I don't know, you do like that she's been an important character. You don't think like all of these people have to some extent or other plot armor. No one important has died in the series, like pretty much ever, actually. And just to see her to go down that way and to see the effect on him. I mean, I was having a conversation about this a little bit the other day with Mike. Hey, Mike. And I probably didn't do a good enough version of it because it was via text, like of explaining what I actually meant in this. Because he was asking, this is me and him and Dominic were all talking about like different shows and stuff like that. And I said, like at this, like he was talking about like, we were talking a little bit about Ahsoka, which we didn't really talk about in consumption, but we could talk about that more down the future where we'll be more like caught up with like the
when I actually watched some of it. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you hadn't started watching it.
No, I haven't seen any yet.
Okay. I didn't watch today's, obviously, but I watched the first 2. Cool. Talking about like watching a show where they're talking about either things or characters that you don't have like a reason to care about them, and like, so do you care about the show or whatever? And I said, because we were talking about like, this isn't any sort of spoiler, obviously, like we know this going in. The show is about Ahsoka and they're looking for Ezra. And like, so if you haven't watched Rebels and the Clone Wars, like, would you care about Ezra? And to me, I said, I've watched those shows, but for me, it's not even like about Ezra really. If I've decided I'm going to watch a show and the main character of the show is looking for or cares about a person, a place, a thing, whatever, I don't have to care about that person, place, or thing. But if I've decided to give my time to watch that show, I'm naturally going to empathize with the lead character. So if that thing, person, place, whatever is important to the main character, they're important to me by extension. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I extend that bit of like empathy to that character. Like in this case, like Ezra. Like I care about Ezra because I care about Ahsoka's story.
Right.
And if I didn't care about Ahsoka's story, I wouldn't be watching the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, I might be on the unique side from that. I don't know. Like, it's not like it's a fictional character. I'm not going to weep for the pains or the trials and tribulations of Ahsoka or Ezra or whatever, but it's like, I don't know if other people watch things like that, but for me, like, I have a finite amount of time that I can spend on these things. And so if I'm going to decide to give my time to it, I'm going to engage with it to the level of like I'm going to care about it insofar as like you can care about something that's not real. If I can't get to that point of caring about that, then I won't watch the show anymore. You know,
right?
Same thing with like Ilsa. Like, yeah, like I shouldn't really care. It's not that sort of movie, really, but like I do because like she's become such an important character in this series. You're telling and showing us how important she is to Ethan. So like, you extend that empathy to that character, and like it passes the test or it doesn't pass the test of you either care about these movies and these characters or you don't. You know, and so you like what matters to them matters to you.
Yeah, I do. Well, I also think. I mean, I completely agree with you. We're also seasoned movie and TV watchers at this point, and that is how I would approach it in general. Honestly, even any story, book, movie, video game, like
definitely.
You're following a character, right?
Yeah.
Like it's the protagonist. I do think like it's cool that if you watched Rebels or Clone Wars, that you have this supplemental experience that like you can apply to this to backfill some additional story and context, but it shouldn't be necessary for you to feel like to get the whole experience.
That was my point, which I don't think I did a good enough job of explaining that the first time when I was talking to him. It was like,
that's all right, he'll listen to this.
It could be, yeah, exactly. Now we had this conversation like yesterday or the day before, and so he'll hear it like 2 weeks from now, but that's fine. He'll remember.
I would also like highlight though that like if you find that you can't, like that you don't care, it's not necessarily on you. Like that like actors need to make you care, and so does the writing and the directing. It all has to come together.
Well,
it
that's
can
my
very
point.
well fall apart.
That's my point. Is if I didn't care, I would probably stop watching.
Mm-hmm.
But I do, so I will care.
Yeah,
so I will continue to watch. Like it's a kind of a symbiotic relationship, and like I use that specific example, but I use that as to reveal like kind of the catch-all. Any other thing I didn't have, like I have the history of watching Rebels. Pick a different show, movie, game, book, whatever. I try to extend that grace if I'm going to give the time. Like I'm going to try to care about the motivations of the character. Otherwise, if I don't care, I'm not going to continue on.
Well, it's a really interesting thing though, because with all these anthology stories and like all of these like extended universes, whether it be Star Wars or Marvel or something like that, like they've done we're the easy audience because we have all the context, right? Like we already do care, so they have less work to do to get us there.
Yeah,
it is still on them though to make the person that is only watching the Ashoka show get there. And that it is very much their responsibility as creators of the story to get you there.
It is, but I also think and this is obviously a tangent to like Ahsoka, and obviously you haven't watched the first 2 episodes. I did the first episode in particular, but the first 2 episodes are pretty exposition heavy. Like I've seen some people, I haven't even seen a lot of complaints yet. They may be out there, I just haven't seen them. You can't follow this if you didn't watch the other show. I've seen a lot of people asking, well, can you follow this if you haven't watched the shows? And so, to me, I went back and thought about it and was like, okay, if I hadn't watched this, would I be able to follow what's going on? It's been pretty exposition heavy. I think you can follow the gist of what's going on. If you've already decided, oh, I watched Mandalorian, I liked it, I want to find out what Ahsoka's story is all about. To me, and again, maybe I'm unique in this, if that was all level of engagement I had of it, I would probably be like, okay, so why does Ahsoka care about all of this? Oh, because he sacrificed himself to save all of them and foment the rebellion and all that sort of stuff. Okay, that's a good motivation. I can understand why someone would care about that person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on board. I don't have to know all the nitty-gritty details. I think they've satisfied all of that. And I think there is a failing on the audience in some cases in those situations where don't get overwhelmed by, I don't know what's going on. Well, what have they told you? What have they showed you so far? Mm. You don't need to have all the answers going in. Let them reveal the answers to you as you go. They've given you enough to start and then go on. And not to say every show does that, because they don't always do that. But a lot of them do. And I think people get in their own head about those sorts of things sometimes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's very. We're on the same page with stuff. We're just going to end up beating a dead horse at this point. But like one of the last thing that I would say about that is like it is also, if you're interested, you also have to watch it, right? You actually have to watch. Like that's the whole point of the medium. Like, are you paying attention? Are you engaged? Are you on your phone? Are you getting up? What are you doing?
And that's the thing. And I'm not in myself. I have fallen victim to that in the past, which is why when I am watching something that I want to watch, I put my phone down because it is a distraction. And don't get me wrong, I will get fidgety at times and but I will pause the thing if I'm I have the governor on myself because I've fallen in that trap in the past and what happened? I had to rewind or whatever. The smartphone is a phenomenal invention. It does tremendous things for you, but it also is a crutch that does bad things to you too. It's up to you to find out how to manage that relationship. It's not always easy, but it is eminently doable, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it's definitely doable. And I would say, for me, the smartphone is a perfect barometer for whether or not they're doing a good enough job. I don't touch my phone when I'm watching something like that unless I've lost interest.
Yeah,
I don't just think about doing something and do it. Like I've been trying to watch it and I've been disconnected for some reason.
I've poo-pooed a lot of the talk about the addiction of it. In more recent times, I have relented some. There is something to that idea. I think it's a obsession that can be managed. It doesn't have to be an outright addiction, but I understand how it is or can be to people. And that's fine. Like, I don't say that judgmentally. I get it.
Yeah.
It's incredibly powerful. The world is literally at your fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the fault of a person writing a television show or a movie or whatever if you are in your own head about being on your phone. There's no way to tell you a good story in a way that you can do while you're doing something else.
No.
Like, at the end of the day, it's just not possible. So if you don't care about watching a show that is about a good story, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Just don't blame the show.
Don't do that. For
Weird
sure.
tangent. Sorry. Back
to I agree with you. I actually there's been so many times where I've read a review of something and I've been like, you didn't watch it.
Yeah.
Because you're saying things and making these like statements or claims or like you're theorizing about stuff that was actually plainly stated.
Yeah.
If you were just there, not even like really actively listening, but like just there,
some sort of present. Yeah. Thankfully, I've done a good enough job over the years of whittling down like who I will really engage with for reviews.
Mm-hmm.
So I see these things or hear these things more as like fan or viewer or enjoyer, let's call it, like conversation, where it's like I'll see a complaint lodged and it's like, okay, you're making an argument based on something like you didn't understand what was happening there. Mm-hmm. Or you're making an argument based on you weren't paying attention because the thing that you're asking about was directly, and in my opinion, fairly like well explained situation within it. Or you're making an argument based on like a logical fallacy that like is not in good faith. Not that I'm saying that you're doing it actively maliciously. It's just like, it's not in keeping with what's going on around you. Like, you don't have a grasp on the situation.
Yeah.
And no one's perfect. Like, everyone makes mistakes on those things, but to watch those sorts of things get stirred up into like these like angry rhetorics can frustrate me, where it's like, no, if you actually engaged with the thing at the level it was trying to engage you at, you wouldn't have like 80% of the concerns you have.
Right. Yeah. That drives me crazy.
Yeah.
But, all right, back to Mission Impossible. Yes. What else?
Well, we didn't really talk about the airport scene. That was a pretty cool sequence.
And not just the airport scene, but another character that I really enjoyed, and I don't remember if he was in it before. Maybe he was, and it's just, like I said, I haven't seen the other ones in a long time. This character, Briggs.
No, this is the first one he's in.
Okay, that was so entertaining to me. Like, he is so mad that he can't catch him.
It was kind
and it's so comical. It's like wacky races.
Maybe I'm misremembering it slightly, but isn't there kind of a like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern aspect to him and his partner's like relationship to this movie, where they're kind of on the fringe of all of the stuff, and like they're kind of in line with the plot, but not really.
Right. I just like that one moment where they have like 2 minutes aside to talk to the audience, and his partner's like, but like, okay, but let's say this was the scenario and he did this, like, would that be that bad? And Rick's like, wait, whose side are you on? They're like, their banter was really fun. Like they were constantly 10 steps behind.
Yes.
And it was so comical. But like they were trying so hard. It was very much, Peter, stop doing what you're doing.
And we've seen aspects of that before where there's someone who's trying to be like who's what was the Uncle Junior line from The Sopranos? Like, some people are so far behind in life they think they're ahead. Like, and there was like an aspect to that with this. Yeah. And we've seen like audience insert characters like this before. And they can be like both comedic relief and like a decent way to like release the pressure building up in a movie like this.
Yeah. They're just an annoying mosquito to Ethan, though.
Yeah.
He's just like, would you just get away from me? I'm trying to do something.
And they picked the perfect type of guy. Like, Shea Wiggum is like the perfect like person to play that character. Who's like kind of like an everyman guy who's like trying to do his job well. And it's just like, it doesn't matter how good you are at doing your job. You're just a guy. It's never going to work for you. It's just not going to work for you.
You're crewman number 6.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about it the other day too. The stupid scene from Austin Powers Goldmember when you first see Michael Caine and he comes out and he disables all of the guards. And there's the one guy who's shaking, holding the gun. He goes, "You there?
Why don't you just lie down?
What's your name? Oh, you haven't even got a name tag. Oh, you've got no chance. Why don't you just lay down before you get hurt?" That's right.
I love that. It's so good. But yeah, the airport sequence was a blast. Like, the mechanics of the tools they were using, and then the disruption of those tools by the entity, and the cipher, and the nuke, the potential nuke, and not telling Ethan, but still trying to resolve the issue on the same conversational channel.
Having the two separate conversations like on either side with and without him.
It was great. I loved it.
And yet also they keep ratcheting up the tensions as like Benji might be about to get nuked here. Like,
I like how he's like, well, they're gonna get out of here. Well, actually, it doesn't seem like any of us are gonna get out of here. Why? Well, there's a nuke, and you didn't think to tell me about the nuke.
And also, like, watching his exasperation as he realizes, oh god, all of the questions are answered by things that are deeply personal to me that I didn't think anyone could possibly know.
Yeah. Oh man, because it was like as comical and like entertaining as the whole sequence is, it is also very like uncomfortable and eerie. Like it's a like a full package of emotions. It's really well done. That you are done.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the stupid double entendre that only a computer could make that joke.
Yeah. That was great. I love grabbing people's shoulders because they've been told by the computer that it's Ethan, but it's not Ethan. Like that whole thing. But that was really funny. I had like Shea Wiggum is definitely over it, even by the second time, and his partner's got to step in and be like, "We're really sorry." He's so bent out of shape. And I want to know, those are the two things I want to know more about. I want to know more about why he is so bent out of shape about Ethan, and what the hell Ethan and this henchman's deal is.
Hey, what was his name? I don't even remember what that character's name was.
Gabriel?
Yes.
Did I pull that one out? Okay, I also want to give a shout out to Vanessa Kirby. For one particular reason. So the character of the White Widow?
Yes.
It's a ridiculous character, and it's campy, and I love it. It's fine. I also love her like right hand. He's just like this putz. Like I don't know why.
It's her brother.
Maybe
Yeah.
But one of the I always love these types of performances.
Also, like I feel like they said it once in the middle of a pure exposition dump, and then they've talked around it a couple of times, more so in this movie. She's the daughter of Max from the first one.
Yes.
But it's like they've like both like said it out loud, but also play coy around it at the same time, which is weird.
Yeah. I don't know. It's that bit is a little bit strange. But she's a really like just incredible part of her performance in this movie. And I mean, this should probably go for most of the Mission Impossible movies because it happens at some point. It's really stand out here though because Grace gets on the train, knocks her out, and then puts her face on, and then axes her. But obviously, the way that the movie is filmed and the actors are concerned, it's actually Vanessa Kirby, and she's playing Grace, playing her character, and like how like I don't understand how you can pull that off so well that you transition into like you're playing this character and now you're playing this other character that is in the movie playing your character, and you're able to make that so distinctly different to the audience member. I'm like, that is really like that's pure talent. Like I don't know, like that's really good acting.
I always like when, yeah, it's not a super common phenomenon, but yeah, when someone is playing someone who's playing someone,
the dude playing another dude.
Yeah, like I always think of like in the final Harry Potter movie when Helena Bonham Carter is playing Hermione playing Bellatrix.
Yeah.
Right? Like
yeah. Exactly. That's exactly it. And it's just like I guess like how much like when are you able to shoot that scene successfully? Because you need to have spent enough time with this other actor playing their part to play their part playing your part. Like that's I don't know. I'm
so
blown away by it whenever it's done right.
You got Vanessa Kirby playing Grace, playing the White Widow, which is
and you can even go a level deeper because it's Vanessa Kirby playing the White Widow and playing Haley Atwell's version of Grace playing the White Widow. Like
well, that's what I'm saying. Like she's playing
it's so many levels.
Playing someone, you know, which
but
is
but everything, right? Like the way she holds her shoulders, her mannerisms, like her facial expressions. She transforms into this other character playing her character. It's so cool. It's part of. It's kind of harkens back to what I was talking about with the crowded room, and more on that at some point in the future if you ever get to watch it. But like, it's like that type of stuff really impresses me because like acting is so much more than just delivering a line, and like it really shows in a sequence like that where like you're embodying like all of these mannerisms of somebody else, and you're really able to highlight it in that role because they are very specifically supposed to be showing you that they're doing it, but also not making it seem wrong. Like I don't know, it's so well done.
Yeah. This of all of this jet setting series, somehow this is the most jet setting of all of them because they chose not one but two Italian locations. They filmed in Rome, which actually I don't think I saw. I saw some of where they shot some of that, but I didn't see the main thing where the police station was. I was looking out for that road with that like tunnel or whatever. I did not see that actually. But there was actually somewhere else I think that I did see there. But like I said, I may or may not have found the bridge where the two of them fought. I got to go into Castle Ducal, which was pretty cool to like see that in real. It was really cool going there like 2 weeks after seeing the movie to kind of take a look out to like some of these like locations or whatever. There's a surreal aspect to it, but like obviously we saw like between. Not that this is like a glamorous thing, right? But there's the desert and there's the whole thing with them on the ship and the in the ocean, wherever. You have like always these like austere, like sterile white like offices that are in like the halls of secret agent government spy shit in Washington or whatever. But then to see Rome and Venice and all these like things, then they're in like the French countryside and they're on this train and like that whole sequence at the end where leading to like Benji, like seeing the context for that scene from the trailer of him jumping off the cliff where this whole thing where Benji is like comically leading him to, oh yeah, no, it's fine, it's a shortcut, it'll totally take you there. And he's like, all right, where do I go next? He's like,
just
off,
just jump. Yeah, off.
just off. Just go. Although I assumed that was going to lead to him using one of those like bodysuit things, like the ones where like with like the wings where they like zip.
That's what I thought that he was. I thought that's what Luther explained that he had in the bag. I didn't understand what he was talking about, but I guess it was more that like.
I was confused as well because
that he had.
Yeah, because he's like, oh, I give you 2 options or whatever. So I assumed it was like one straight down parachute and one like bodysuit thing, and like a lot of times those are used in conjunction, right? Usually, those bodysuit things you end with a parachute being pulled at the end because otherwise you're going to like crash at like 200 miles an hour into a surface or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, it was still cool what he ended up doing with the parachute and having to do some stunt maneuvers to latch onto the train and all that. Like that was a really cool sequence. And all of the drama there within where she's trying to like really the clock's about to run out and she's trying to get this deal done. Her negotiating is ridiculous. Again, being Vanessa Kirby playing Grace, playing White Widow, doing a terrible negotiation, trying to get the whole thing, the way that Gabriel fucks up the train and now they have to deal with that whole situation. And then the ridiculousness of them climbing back up those cars. And each car they go into is a different nightmare, whether it be the kitchen one where everything's on fire, or all the shit falling and trying to hit them and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, because it's like, what is this, a cartoon? What's going to be in the next car? A piano? Yes. That was good, though.
And it was good. I mean, we talked about her a little bit before, and to see her come back full circle in this movie. And I was surprised. I assumed she would die, and then she didn't at the end. The Palm Clementif character could not be any less like the character she played in Guardians.
No. Yeah.
So there is a bit of range there. I mean, this was a campy, over-the-top performance. I mean, yes, you could argue to an extent both of them are, but to see the little bit of the personal with her at the end, where you think she's going to die, and it's like, why did she help there or whatever, and then the whole betrayal thing, and then to see, I'm very curious to see what her role will be in the next one, because you don't not kill her off unless you have a
plan
role in mind for her. I wonder, does she take the place of that's now been vacated by Ilsa no longer being?
Yeah, almost certainly.
Probably, yeah. Well, this I mean, actually, I guess a bunch of vacancies, because at that point, Grace is no longer with the team. It's really just Ethan and Benji, right? And Luther is also AWOL.
Yeah, I'm so curious what Luther's up to. I won't know for well over a year, I feel like.
Yeah, well, who knows what this strike will do. I have not seen anything. I would assume that they've shot most of that movie, if not all of it.
I was going to assume that it was basically done.
But who knows if this affects that release window or whatever. It is supposed to be next summer, though, right?
I thought so, but we'll see. It was just overall, it was a really fun. It was just a fun trip to the movies. I really enjoyed it. I love going to see a Mission Impossible movie. It's just so entertaining. It
is tough. I mean, obviously, I knew this was a 2-part thing. It's the first time they've done that in this series. It is odd not getting like full closure, like good guys win, bad guys lose, all that jazz. That being said, I mean, I do think they told, even though this is a story that needs a companion, it's enough of a story on its own that it does stand alone as a fine movie on its own.
Yeah, I think so. There is something I do like. I like when movies have like a level of rewatchability. I feel like I almost can't. I've been toying with this in my mind on like my rating systems, but like I feel like I can't going forward. I'd rather not give a movie a 10 if it doesn't have high rewatchability, because I do think one of my favorite things about movies is watching them again and just enjoying them whenever I want. But like there are certain movies that like you can't watch again, or it only has the effect that it has the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Mission Impossible movies thus far are very rewatchable movies, right? You could throw one on, it's a contained story, whatnot. Being a 2-parter definitely makes it harder. And the fact that the 2 parts are so long makes it even harder. I can imagine, like, if I'm thinking like, oh, I've got a free night, I'm going to throw on a Mission Impossible movie. this one is probably going to be one of the last ones I picked, even if it's one of the ones I enjoyed the most, because it's like, well, I don't have time to watch both of them, and I'm going to feel like it's not finished. It's going to end up being a situation where I watch the second one more. It's probably like I end up watching, like, I love the last two Avengers movies, but like I watched the final one more often than the one before it because of the non-conclusiveness of it.
It's funny because like early on, like I saw that one and then like it was on TV some, and I saw Infinity War a couple of times, and then now I've seen like whether in parts or in whole, I've seen Endgame like it feels like 20 times now. Mm-hmm. But I haven't seen Infinity War in like 5 years. It feels
it's kind of crazy.
I probably really should sit down and watch that one again because it feels like forever. And I feel like I don't really remember the details of that movie. Like I remember the broad strokes of it, obviously, but
and it's good. It's a really good one too. Yeah. Like it's actually like it's intense.
It works on its own to an extent in the same way this one does, but it really feels incomplete without its companion. Whereas Endgame, you could pretty much watch on its own. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if we'll feel the same experience with this one as well.
Yeah, I'll be curious for sure. But we'll always have that sequence. Well, I mean, like the movie will be worth going back to specifically for the airport and the train sequences alone. Like they're so good. They're so well done.
And even like we didn't really talk about it, but the chase scene in Rome is really cool too.
It is. It's a little bit. It's not. I feel like it's not as good as those other two because those other two sequences, it's not just action. It's action and story bundled so well together.
Yes.
And, like, the stakes raise higher and higher, and it's not just the stakes of like we can't die. It's like we can't die, and we have to get the key, and this is important, and all these things are happening. Wait, what's that over there? Why are these people on the train? Like, there's so many things going on, like that make them stand out a little bit more than that.
That's definitely true, but I also think there was a comedic element to the whole thing with them being handcuffed, not being able to get into a position
when they switch positions in the car, and they're both confused by it,
and she just can't drive. She can't drive.
Oh, that was ridiculous.
To the point where, like, at the end, where she's like crashed so many times, she's like, "I'm not doing it. I'm not driving anymore."
Yeah, that was really silly. That I don't know. That was also like as fun and ridiculous as that was. It was like I don't know Schumacher levels of ridiculous though with that truck that Palm was driving, just barreling through things. But it was pretty cool that it was like what was it? 1, 2, 3. It was like a 4-way chase sequence. Like there was like 4 parties involved. It was like the cops. It was the armored car. It was the IMF, and it was Ethan and Grace trying to get out of there. It was pretty cool. It was fun. Cool. Any other closing thoughts on this one?
No, I think we got most of it out, and I'm glad that as we were doing that, I remembered most of the movie.
Yeah.
There was a moment I was thinking about it earlier today. So it was kind of like trying to marshal my thoughts for how I wanted to like set my notes up and all that. And I'm like, I mean, I remember the movie, but I feel like I need them to be like unlocked.
Yeah, I have found I had listened back to a couple episodes and I was thinking about like the structure of the show, and I find that we are most successful in the movie talk if we just start from the beginning and start making our way through it and then jump around as needed, right? Like that's what we did. We opened the movie and then it sparks things and you start moving around and then you come back and ultimately you catch everything because luckily in this case you brought us back to both the airport sequence and the car chase. But like I feel like that's like the best way to get to all the fun parts.
For me though, there's a specific aspect of I find like the real sweet spot for me is when we record like 2 or 3 days after I've watched the movie.
Yeah, just a little time to simmer, but not enough time to forget.
Because if it's the next day, I feel like I haven't really cemented everything.
I'm with you.
But if it's like a week or more after, I start to get hazy on the details. If it's a movie I've only seen one time, if it's a movie I've rewatched, obviously I'm fine with it at that point. But like I start to, and this is obvious. I saw this movie like 5 weeks ago, so like sure. it's
well, you did pretty good for that then.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's all for this week's episode of Flix and a Six. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have a movie for us to review or nuggets for us to discuss, you can send those requests to flixandasix@thespintune.com. Tune in next week for more movie and beer goodness. Until then, I'm Anthony Costanzo.
And I have no idea what movie we're going to do next week.
Thanks for coming out.